Was it something you said?
It must have been.
All right, it's coming up live. And
Starting event.
starting event.
They reviewed the video and went, "Oh no!"
Oh,
Hey, alrighty. Well, welcome everyone to show number 83 of This Week in Hospitality Digital Marketing. I am one of your many co-hosts. Now we're growing the co-hosts. Hopefully, Stuart will join us. But my name is Lauren Gray. With me is Mr. Edward St. Ange from Flip2, and also Mr. Robert Cole from Rock Cheetah. Good morning, gentlemen. Thank you for making
Good morning.
the happiness of our show this morning. Yes, Stuart from last week's show. Either we gave him cash, which I didn't have enough of, or he actually liked talking to us. But thanks to Mr. Ed bringing him on board with us, he asked if he could join us on a regular basis. So I send him now a weekly co-host link so that he can pop in when he has the opportunity to, which is freaking awesome.
very good. And look at our new viewers today. We have Brian from TripAdvisor.
Oh, hi, Brian.
Hi, Brian, and we have Bill from Visergy.
Hey, Bill.
Hey, Bill. How are you?
And then there's me doing the duplicate cast. So
we have Wendy, and I can't tell from her email address where she's from. So welcome to our new viewers.
To our new viewers and our subscriber base that we're rebuilding since we had to hopscotch from one platform to the other again.
Probably not the last time.
Probably not. Actually,
I like this platform.
I like this platform too.
This one's much nicer, yeah.
Yeah, I think this one's going to linger. Yeah.
We'll miss this one when it's shut down.
Yeah. Or what do you say? We're the kiss of death when it comes to live broadcasting?
Yes, exactly.
I think we are.
Well, pretty soon, I'm guessing, because the suggested topics I sent over are vastly Facebook, and I'm sorry for being so heavy-weighted, but Facebook decided to shotgun out a bunch of stuff this past week that I think individually they're not like earth-shattering things, but cumulatively begin to raise an eyebrow as to, there seems to be a bit of a strategy play going on to this newfangled stuff, but we'll get to it. But I think if anything we shift from will be the fact that Facebook will offer this in a venue yet to come. That we will just, this is what we're going to do on Facebook kind of thing, and that we don't need an alternative platform to do this on with all the multicasting stuff. We're up on Facebook Live, we're up on YouTube Live for everyone there on both of those platforms. If you'd like to join us in dialogue, you simply go to bit.ly/HDM Show 83, register and open up the show, and you can join us and text us and check with us here in chat room.
Kind of feels like you could just put that link up in the Facebook.
Could be. Sorry, I'm in unnatural surroundings with stuff, so I'm like literally like, okay, where's the mouse? Where's this? Where's that? I will be more than happy to put that link up for everybody.
You may be in unnatural surroundings, but you seem to travel with the sign.
Yeah, signs everywhere.
It's the traveling pants. Ever since I sliced it up, and gentlemen, I have to apologize. Your logos had to go for me to slice it up so I could fit it into a suitcase.
Oh.
I know. I feel bad. I do feel bad.
What about the $3.2 million we each paid for that?
Yeah.
Redistribution of funding for retargeting. Yes, that's what it is. We're retargeting. Semantic search retargeting. Programmatic. Yeah.
that could be an entire show on the horrible things that happen to co-op marketing funds.
I just want to start with, Holly, you can't join the show and just watch. You have to take part. So, Holly, go ahead and leave and come back as a co-host.
Come on, join the party. No microphone. Oh, no, so hi.
She had actually said that she wasn't going to co-host today.
Yeah.
And you made but for the reason of, it seems like you guys have this covered. No, Holly,
we never have
bring so much legitimacy to this show.
No kidding. Yeah.
I just feel, Holly, I'm not going to pressure you to be on the show, but as long as you keep the fact checking going, that's right.
Yes, we do need to be kept honest out of this in the world of fake news. And for those,
did you hear that, Lauren? Holly said you're having a bad hair day.
Am I? I didn't even know I had enough hair.
It's about you.
I didn't even know I had enough hair to have a bad hair day. All right. Hey, for those who have joined us, this is an open chair scenario. That if you feel that if you have a camera and microphone and you'd like to join us, send us over a request to join us as a co-host, and we'll flip you on, and you can join us visually and audio-wise if you'd like to. You don't have to just be regulated to just chat room only. We can have
flip you on, but with Tim Peters on, he'll flip you off.
He'll flip you off. Yes, there are those who flip you on and those who flip you off. But we have 6 chairs available, so we have 3 open chairs right now. For anybody that would like to join us, you're more than welcome to. With that,
let's start with the Facebook stuff, because I think we can probably cover that pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think we can knock most of them down cumulatively. And Robert, you had a couple of great topics, and then I wanted to hit Red Lion. 6 months later,
there's some nuance in Red Lion.
Yeah, there is nuance too. I actually talked to a few friends there too. There's a little bit more behind the backstory, which is why I wanted to throw it in there.
By the way, building your marketing database is a long-term play, not a short-term pop.
Yes. Yeah, very true.
Yeah, let's do it all in a quarter.
Yeah.
Well, for Facebook stuff, I threw a few items down. Facebook announced access to more video formats for publishers across desktop and mobile. To me, this is opening the damn gates. Obviously, we know that Facebook needs more advertising space because they were the first to come up and say we're going to run out of spaces to sell, and that's why they're heavy into the TV space, into the video space. But now, with Atlas coming offline, which they inherited from Microsoft, which Microsoft inherited it from, I don't know. It's been a hand-me-down program because it's been so stable for so long, but it's finally reached its end of life, or at least this life. And Facebook's now, because they took Atlas offline, no longer is it just Coca-Cola, Home Depot, being able to access their video distribution, which is pretty cool. For those who aren't familiar with it, Facebook had a whole nother level of advertising that was just off limits to everybody but the chosen few. And now that video formatting, that publishing video formatting with all the demographic availability that Facebook has is now an open gate for other publishers. So that's crazy smart news.
Still slightly restricted though if you read the article.
Yeah, you have to be certain. You have to be at certain thresholds still. You just can't walk in and be a newbie and think you're going to advertise. You just still have to have some sort of online presence and capabilities to do it. And I don't want to go through the technicals of it, but there's gateways to it. Just like anything, the certifications, the validations, you have to have a certain viewership, you have to have a certain following, you have to have a certain engagement to qualify even to have the accesses.
The big theme here in all these announcements with Facebook, though, is it's them continuing to play to their strong suit. So Facebook is one of the most friendly advertising networks you can interact with, period. Mm-hmm. A novice can become pretty sufficient pretty quickly. And now also with the impact of the transparency of what platforms are driving what, that further drives to that. Like now you better understand what's coming from their different assets and the different experiences, so you can better understand how your ads perform.
Right. Yeah. It gives you a qualifier to the product rather than just having to estimate and guess the success. It really does tell you source of business more than down to the detailed demos. Yeah.
Well, and another thing is just to look at Facebook's success. Friends at L2 had a very interesting little chart that they produced, which was the year-over-year revenue growth in the fourth quarter of 2016. It compared Facebook, Amazon, Alphabet, PayPal, Intel, and Apple. And I'll just go Facebook, Amazon, Alphabet, and Apple. Right? Facebook's year-over-year revenue growth was 50.8%. Amazon and Alphabet were both at 22%, really close, which is really, when you're that big, pretty remarkable number. Apple, 3.3.
Yep.
So,
well, here's the thing. What's most impressive about that metric for Facebook is, let's not forget, first quarter of last year, they gave guidance after their earnings call to don't expect us to be able to continue growing at the clip we're growing at. And then it's like, oh, we didn't mean this year, obviously. This year you can expect it. It's going to happen. Yeah. Maybe next year too, but don't expect it forever.
Well, and now you get these new video formats, which the stats in terms of video engagement on Facebook, and and the changes they made to have things autoplay and things like that is just, that's not going to slow them down. I can't imagine.
No. Some of the other things that are small but mean big things. and that is that the Instant Articles program for Facebook opened up. And again, for those who are unfamiliar with this process, Facebook is always hungry for good content, and there was always been a manual feature to put your content into Facebook. Now the Instant Articles allow you to create through verification through your website, your blogs, your video posts, your audio posts, although I can tell you personally they don't like iframing at all. You have to gut all that out and just do good anchor text links to it and stuff. But you can create these very nice, I wouldn't say glossy because that's an old printing term, but nice sharp looking engaging articles that you can post automatically from your content that you're already generating. I can only imagine the evil, devious thoughts that you are doing, Ed, with this, or potentially doing with this. What? Automated content generations. What?
Who would want to do something like that?
That's crazy talk.
You'll be helping mankind by doing it.
Yeah.
Actually, I'll tell you what I can't wait to get my hands on is the city guides.
Oh yeah.
Oh, Facebook's doing it smarter than just check-ins.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
They're not going to go the Foursquare Yelp way of just flood it with a bunch of garbage and then sift it out later.
Yeah.
Google went down that path and learned a bad lesson. So yes.
Yep.
No, and already before the city guides, for the HSMA Digital Marketing Conference, Ann Lawrence, I'm sure she's okay with me saying this completely out of turn, who's with G6, wound up saying, "Oh, Tim Peter has joined the. Look at this.
Do you notice the newer picture? Did y'all notice this?
Look at professional Peter over here.
Yeah, look. I cleaned up the pictures. I cleaned up the pictures.
On the red carpet, apparently.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was.
That's way better than the last photo. That's for sure.
That last photo was great. That was a good one. Yeah, thank you, Lauren. My photo improved as well.
I really was tempted with taking the one out from you at the beach with your hair straight up. Which, by the way, Robert has a lot of hair when you straighten it straight up and it sticks.
Oh,
yeah. He's got the whole shock value. Yeah, I was going to use that one. I thought, no, it's the nice Lauren doing this today. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
So anyway, we're talking about Facebook city guides, but before the city guides were really launched, Ann Lawrence was coming to the conference, and I don't know if it was a last minute thing or whatever, but was looking for recommendations on places to stay amongst her friends. And again, it was, all of a sudden you have the ability to have this recommendation, and it gives you a link and a nice kind of, a nice referral. It gives you a little card that will go lead you to the page for the hotel. And she had an active number of people saying, "Hey, stay here, stay there." To the page for the hotel. And all the people who have either checked in or been there, or I'm not sure if it's talked about, it's certainly based on check-ins. So all of a sudden you can see, oh, here are friends who've been there. So I mean, it's another sort of social proof validation of, hey, was it great? Did you like it? And got any recommendations? Just that much more.
Like I said, I'm hoping they go a little deeper than that.
Yeah.
Partially because it further validates our model of you really should have your guests sharing their stories about you.
Absolutely.
But you think about the type of content we help hotels put out in the world through their guests as both story creator and storyteller. Like that content all of a sudden will be able to drive so much more in a decision path.
Yeah.
Oh, I like the blue on the Apple Watch there. Nice.
Oh yeah, that is a nice looking blue.
Yeah.
That's the same band I have every weekend.
I know what I'm doing later. Thanks for planning my lunch break. I think it's an amazing opportunity for Facebook to really just own the local space in travel, and someone needs to, right?
Right.
And,
well, the thing that I
and it's a new place to sell advertising.
Exactly.
That's really
what a
exactly.
But wait, there's more.
Buy two, and only for shipping and handling.
I'm sure you guys know. I'm sure a lot of our viewers know. But 100%, over 100% of the growth in digital ad purchasing last year happened on Google and Facebook. And the reason it was over 100%, for those who aren't aware, is because they got all of the growth in digital as well as took money away from the folks who were shrinking.
Right. The rest of the world shrunk.
Exactly. Everybody who wasn't Google and Facebook went down or stayed flat, and Google and Facebook got all of the growth and picked up the crumbs of everything that fell off the table. Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so, it's a double-edged sword, because the good news for hospitality marketers, for travel marketers, is, hey, look, now you only have to worry about putting your money in these couple places to reach a whole bunch of people, in theory. The bad news for travel marketers is there are two people who control all the eyeballs.
Well, no. And the worst news for travel marketers is, at least on the Google end of it, we know who they care about. Right. They care about the people who spend, billions a year with them as a single account.
Oh, no, and then that billions is up to, I believe...
Well, just Priceline. Just Priceline.
Priceline and Expedia combined. Well, actually, not just... Okay. 90% of their digital, right, is going to Google, things like that. Yeah.
Well, the new number I heard was just Priceline. 3.5 billion.
Yes.
Just AdWords.
Right.
So not their total spend with Google. That was just their AdWords spend.
Right. Yeah. And the total marketing for the two is something like 8.5 billion. Total sales marketing, kind of all in.
Not at all scary. Hey, where do you think the money comes from, by the way?
That is the remarkable thing. It's all hotels, right?
Yeah.
It's all hotels.
Yeah, airlines aren't paying a lot into that pool, are they?
No.
Rental car, not so much. Cruise, not real.
But I will.
Destinations, no.
Okay, so here's where I want to be. I don't want to be Pollyanna. I don't want to say it's all going to be. You've all seen that picture of this is fine, right, with the flames going up. Right. You familiar with that meme? Hold on, I gotta find it and put it up, because people know what I'm talking about.
Well, so you're currently going on to timpeter.com/blog.
Pollyanna.
Exactly. If you look at who won the Best in Show for digital marketing at the Adrian Awards, it was a hotel company who's not a big hotel company, did a really nice job of using very targeted ads, using data to determine when to buy the ads, and was able to drive real lift in revenue and occupancy and things like that, not by trying to go head-to-head. When you hear people are spending $3 billion, clearly you're not going to play there. What you have to do is find the spaces where they're not and do it really well. And
there are so many gaps.
And it can be done. Yeah, for sure.
The better you know your customer, and you figure out where they are, that's not getting blanketed by these guys.
Well, and then think back to what Dan Waxman said a couple of weeks ago. They know that their win rate on second stay is fantastic, and they also know that first day there's a certain part of the advertising landscape that's just pointless to play in. For them.
That's exactly right.
Right.
And, with the clients I'm working with, we've definitely seen our cost of acquisition through Google go up, not just year over year, but even in this year it's gone up, because there's more competition and the like, and it's still damn profitable. We're still getting great return on spend. You just have to be smart about it.
Well, and a plug for timpeter.com and his consulting practice. I'm going to be going to Charleston in the end of September to attend a friend of my daughter's wedding, a close friend of the family, and trying to stay in one of the hotels that Mr. Peter works with, and they're sold out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually,
which I believe
you were there this past
to all of his clients.
When I was talking to you, it sounded like you were staying at a different hotel.
No, I was just staying in one of the. I was staying not in a premium room on a midweek day, on a Monday, Tuesday, as opposed to anything approaching a weekend or the like.
You were in the converted coal bin room. Excellent.
Well, no, I want to be really fair. I love these guys; they're fantastic. The Charming Inns in Charleston. I'm going to throw in a total plug for my clients because they're spectacular. 4 properties, 2 restaurants, Charleston, South Carolina. And all of the product is really, really nice. Obviously, I was not in a premium suite or anything like that.
Well,
but they're great. They're great people.
But he was still wearing a tuxedo, nonetheless.
Actually, funny thing is, while I was down there, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. So if I'm saying something, I'm not supposed to. Whoops. Their restaurant, they have a fine dining restaurant, and they have a casual, fast casual restaurant, breakfast and lunch, called Kitchen 208 at kitchen208.com, and they were filming.
Tippeer.com/kitchen208.
Well, now I got to make that work. And they were filming the Food Network TV show Ginormous Food while I was down there, so that was kind of fun. So that was pretty cool.
That is fun.
So maybe in May.
I'm actually not familiar with that show. Is that just on big food as opposed to good food, or?
It's big and good is the idea.
Oh, okay.
They make a sandwich called a Bell Gem, which is, and by the way, I haven't had much to eat today, so I was like, okay, I gotta go in a second. But, the Bell Gem is a chicken and waffle sandwich.
Oh.
However, for Ginormous Food, they made it, this tall and this big around. So it's, same sandwich, just, I think it was like 8 or 10 chicken breasts, and
Wow, you've drawn the felines.
Definitely heard the chicken breath.
That's like chicken. I'm in.
I'm in.
That's right.
By the way, I posted the "This is fine" image in the links over on the right, but it will take a look.
Wow.
Excellent. Other Facebook stuff, just so you all know, we had an app that put us on Apple TV, but this is much better than that, and that is Facebook now has its app for live, and you just have to follow us, and you get to watch our shows in incredibly high detailed, high def. Which,
oh gosh.
yeah.
Oh dear Lord.
It's
like an episode of Tales from the Crypt.
Yeah. Bad lighting at all. Yeah, we actually now you can, and it's kind of fun. I mean, it's as with anything like this, it's mesmerizing to be able to pop around and look at the different live casts of things that are going on. But what I'm noticing is a lot of the live casts are beginning to firm up. That it's just not these random untitled. Somebody wants to sing to themselves while they're driving in a car or something. Yeah, there's still that kind of garbage that's out there, but there's also getting a lot of this going on. Organized shows, organized content. A lot of larger players are getting more into the perpetual live casting stuff. You're beginning to see more consistency as the channel matures. And I think that was other than the extra advertising space that Facebook gets out of this, as always, but the idea that now you can pop back, look at the big screen, and catch up on Facebook Live and watch Facebook Live broadcasts. So,
which a quick thing on this, this is a little off topic, but I heard
Surprise!
What?
Yeah, but I heard something great the other day, and you all may be aware of this. This was, I believe, it was on the Stratechery podcast, which I've mentioned before, the Exponent podcast, rather, by Ben Thompson. And another guy. It's a really good podcast. It's a must-listen for me every week. But they were talking about the fact that if you notice the buttons on Facebook's mobile app, right? So down at the bottom, you see all the different stuff. One of the ones that is recently added is the video, right? Right down there. And basically, this is their answer to YouTube, essentially. And apparently the reason they're going in this direction in a big way, and this has, I'll try to bring this back to hotels in 1 second because there are some positives potentially here for hotels, is that digital ad spend is stagnating, right? It's growing, but it's not growing at the rates it used to. And the real money for people like Facebook and Google as we go forward is if you can get people who are, the mass marketers who buy television advertising, so think P&G and folks like that, where, P&G has discovered targeted advertising on Facebook doesn't really work for them because they can't make a lot of margin on selling 1 tube of toothpaste. They need to say, everybody go buy, Crest or what have you. And so they want to have massive reach. And so the idea is that what Facebook assumes and what YouTube assumes, and I suppose a lot of other people like Hulu and the like, is if we can get people watching video here, it will be more targeted than television, certainly more measurable than television, but not as targeted as a lot of the traditional digital ads and the like, and they can start bringing in the TV money, and that's where they're going to grow like crazy.
Well, another big thing to look at is, I don't know if you guys saw the announcement that Comedy Central is going to start testing moving away from traditional commercials.
No, really?
Going to branded content.
Really? Well, Saturday Night Live's doing that this year.
They need to do anything they can, don't they?
Yeah, well, they do 2 skits a week where they have some sort of featured product placement, essentially.
Yeah. I'm looking for when This Week in Hospitality Digital Marketing is going to be a skit on Saturday Night Live.
I was hoping for paid placement. Maybe Fender will start sending me some.
There you go.
I was thinking, Lauren, I think you need to talk to Tesla. Number one, that would be
Yeah. We need to, Tesla. Yeah, we need a sample product to evaluate.
Tesla, Rolex would be another good one.
Well, let's also not kid ourselves. Apple wouldn't be too bad. I mean, there's so much Apple product placement.
Much too pedestrian.
Yeah, I was about to say.
That would be different.
All we have to do is all raise our wrist up, and it's like, there's an Apple ad.
I'm looking for educational sponsors.
Hey,
for the 2 colleges my daughters go to.
Yeah, there you go.
This is not an Apple.
That's a Pixel.
That is a Pixel.
Hey,
Finally.
you got your
I've been
Pixel.
waiting this since October 4th.
How's your mic?
Google. Yeah, I don't know. I'm still having issue, but it has nothing to do with the phone itself. It's with Sprint and Google Voice not playing nicely. Their integration.
So you're not going like fully into the deep end of Project 6 then, huh?
Oh, Project 5?
Or whatever it is. I don't know.
Yeah, Project 5. No. If you use the kind of data I use, that makes a lot of money for Google. So no, but Sprint and Sprint and Google Voice had this tight integration for several years, which actually worked out really well until end of last year they stopped supporting it, but it's still there. So it's not completely severed. So
back to something that probably could be valuable to hotels. I actually had some questions for you guys this week. Stuff you would know that I don't. That has come up from my clients. So this is me giving away your services for free and claiming it as my own.
Can we make up answers and give you wrong answers since we aren't getting paid?
Well, my clients are used to me doing that. So
Robert, that never stopped us before.
That's right. That's no barrier.
Getting paid or not has nothing to do with us getting bad information.
One of the questions that came up is one of my clients who has a very specific revenue strategy with their mobile experience. And so if you remember a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about the impact of Meta, and now there are sites analyzing the Meta search to actually bring transparency to pricing strategy of hotels.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right? So are they pulling mobile? Are they going to that level? Are they, so these sites that are starting to say, hey, now's the best time to buy this hotel because their rates are...
Right. I don't know the answer to that, actually.
Maybe I'm not understanding. When you say pulling mobile, what do you mean pulling mobile? What is it that you think?
This hotel actually has completely different rate plans when you access them through mobile.
Right.
Actually, their best price
is
on mobile within the 30-day window of arrival. By far is their best pricing.
Really?
And so my concern for them on that is it because it's within the 30 days, if these sites that are analyzing revenue strategy, I caution them to keep an eye on if they start engineering their own problems on shrinking their window, their decision window, right?
Yeah.
And so that brought up the question of so the source of data for these sites that are doing this, are they going to room type level and rate plan level, or are they just doing aggregate?
Most of them are not. Most of them are looking like the lowest, best available rate.
Yeah,
because once you start doing these scans, because you start really.
Oh no, I know why they would.
Yeah.
I I just didn't know if the tech's gotten better.
Yeah, but yeah, it does. Actually, there is a platform that does. That does pull all your rate strategy, not just.
Now, so my question is that are they also smart enough, or have they caught on to the fact that they should be pulling the mobile experience too?
They do know by screen type,
but I don't know. I don't know that explicitly.
So the reason I wanted to bring this up is, initially hotels are doing this because they've seen that this is a great way to get more direct business. By basically using a loophole that the OTAs aren't shopping their mobile.
Right.
Yeah, but you also have to get your guests
violating agreements. But listen, they're seeing uptick in it. And my caution to them was rate transparency is going to continue getting sharper and sharper. And I caution them that a strategy of dropping rates within a shorter window of arrival is actually going to bite them long term.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other thing, so first off, on the transparency thing, completely agree. Secondly, I am still very much in the camp of rate parity. Because one of the things we've seen when there isn't rate parity over the years is people keep shopping around, right? The biggest risk when you are out of parity is not that they book your room somewhere else. The biggest risk is that they don't book your room at all.
Right.
If you keep looking, I'm going to find a better rate. You know what people are going to do? They're going to keep looking to find a better rate. And I just think that that's a
I'm telling you now, the disappearance of rate parity is the biggest con job that the OTA industry has pulled on hotels in years.
Absolutely.
And as one of the early advocates of rate parity, I mean, some of you know me from those early days, but when I first started Easy Yield, one of the key things that we spent most of our time doing in our sales process was explaining to hotels why net rate parity was a foolish thing to do.
Yep.
And there's a couple reasons. One, it is consumer confidence. Mm-hmm. So, if you're a different rate on every channel of business and consumers pick up on that, they're going to continue. You're going to push them behaviorally to look more places.
Yeah.
Every time they look somewhere else, your competitors are right there. And if one of them has a more stable strategy, they're more likely to win. So that was one of the key points. The secondary key point is you're also fundamentally driving business to the wrong place by playing a rate parity game. You're farming out cost of distribution to whatever channels you're throwing it to. They can then decide, and they can screw you up really bad.
Yeah.
And so we pushed it really hard, and then after selling Easy Yield is around the time that the governments have started coming in and saying that that consumer rate parity is bad, and it's hotels that are standing behind them saying this. And here's the thing I got to tell you: one key element that rate parity does for hotels is it stops you from getting destroyed by the hotel next door.
That's right.
Because the bottom line is this: when rate parity goes away out of your OTA contract, here's how it's going to go. You will have this realization at some point in the future that was the worst possible thing that could have ever happened to you from a negotiation standpoint. You're going to end up having to pick a channel, and then you're beholden to whoever wants to own position on that channel.
Right.
So all your tools of negotiating are gone, and the only people who win from eliminating or outlawing parity clauses and contracts are the OTAs.
That's right.
And they're brilliant in the way that they have fought.
Well, the history. I wrote a big article on this in T News 6 years ago. Right, a long time ago. The people fail to remember the history of this. The watershed moment for rate parity was Jim Young.
Yep.
At Intercontinental Hotels, former IHG, formerly of Continental Airlines.
Yeah.
Right. There's probably a statute of limitations, so I have no idea. But as the word, I wasn't in the meetings, but as the highly corroborated stories go, basically post 9/11, huge surge in OTA bookings, and finally Expedia came in and decided they were going to turn the screws. Right now was the time. The Intercontinental contract was up. Intercontinental only managed 200 of their 4,000 hotels or whatever, and basically they figured out that they were 15% of the transient leisure traffic, right? Which was too big a number for these owners and franchisees to ignore. So they went all in, right? Yep. No rate parity, everything off the table. We're doing it this way. And Jim Young somehow, and people still, and there were people within IHG who said this was the stupidest thing ever. He told them, just say no. Here's rate parity. We're having this, and they cut off.
And the penalties they put in on owners for violating. And it was great. I mean, talk about great timing for my last business. So we had been fighting this battle for a couple of years prior to this happening. And, we're starting to get pretty worn in constantly fighting this battle, trying to explain to GMs, because there weren't a lot of revenue managers back then.
Right.
That's a fairly new thing. Anyone coming in the industry today, you got to realize revenue management as an actual recognized practice is very young.
Right.
And then IHG did this. And first of all, that year, the year that they put all that stuff in, Easy Yield grew by just a massive amount because we were one of the only ways that hotels could guarantee that they wouldn't make a mistake. Because, this also uncovered another big thing that Easy Yield always uncovered to hotels, which is they had no freaking clue how the markups worked. They had no clue how any of the commercial arrangement of their relationship with OTAs worked. And we would sit there and we'd be like, all right, so we'll just do it all for you. We'll set it all up. Don't worry about it. This is how it works. But the only way for the hotels to stay out of violation was to use Easy Yield. So, we boarded hundreds of IHG properties that year. Which was huge for us. We were a tiny startup still at that point. Yeah. And that's when it also became less and less that we had to argue for rate parity. That wasn't as much of an argument anymore. It actually started smartening up after that. I think that was a great wake-up moment for the industry where everyone was like, yeah, what were we thinking? This attitude of I'll give everyone the same net rate and let them duke it out, that's not how it went. That's just what you were telling yourself, to not have to sit there and face the reality of the complexity of the channel distribution strategy. And it was crazy to me.
Well, at the beginning, the OTA were very, very opposed to rate parity. So what happened, the next round and all the European stuff started from one guy, Dorian Harris at Scoosh. His business model was to take net rates that were for packages or whatever, and specifically required markup to have rate parity.
Right.
He basically went to the UK Office of Fair Trading and said, "Oh my God, the hotels are colluding with the OTAs and each other to totally screw the consumer, and it's a big, huge, the secrets are in Area 51, and this is just, you've got to stop this, right?" And no evidence whatsoever of a consumer ever being harmed by this practice, right? But
if anything, it's better.
It helps the consumer.
Right.
It's better for the consumer, right? So, and there is an issue where in the U.S., because of Ligon, the Ligon case, which actually very interestingly, which I didn't realize, my wife works for Brighton Collectibles, right? She sells their stuff. That was Ligon Leather Products, who basically said, no, we are selling our stuff and you cannot discount it. And still, this Brighton Collectibles, where everywhere they are in the U.S., total rate parity. They're very, very tight.
Bose
very
does the same thing.
Right. Now, so basically, in the case in the U.S., basically said rate parity is, or resale price maintenance is the technical term for it,
Yeah.
is legal unless you can prove that it's harming customers, and if you can prove that, then it's bad. But the burden of proof is to say somebody's getting hurt.
Yep.
Unfortunately, in UK common law and everything like that, it's kind of the opposite. It's really that this is a per se illegal activity unless you can prove that nobody's getting hurt, which is a huge burden of, an insurmountable burden of proof.
Right.
So when this happened, the ironic thing was Expedia and Booking.com and, ironically, Intercontinental Hotels all went in, and Expedia said, "Oh dear, we have done wrong. We are so sorry. We will help you to do whatever you can to stop this evil practice." Right?
Yep.
And IHG did exactly the same thing. And now, I don't know. And I go back and forth.
That's lack of memory on IHG's.
Yeah.
But what I watched.
No, IHG. No. They are vehemently. This is a strategy that they wanted. And I believe, and I go around and around with my dear friends there who I like, but we disagree on this point, is that they are being arrogant, that they are so large that they're kind of behaving OTA-like, where they've aggregated all of these hotels so people will come to them, and that they can actually kind of game things around and not play priority and pull out share, which is kind of similar to a core over there. All these things up and becoming
well, but see,
very
a core, you
OTA-like.
say that, but a core has done something very differently.
They have done
Yeah,
something
Core
better.
has opened up an OTA model
Right.
where
Right.
any hotel, without any real affiliation with a core, can be sold on a
Right.
core's marketing.
Right.
Right? IHG hasn't done that.
No.
And,
No, so it's a different, I like a core strategy
yeah, they became an OTA.
better.
They became
No,
an
yeah, they just said,
Right.
we're going to go be our OTA, but I think IHG was being egotistical,
Well, here's
thinking
the
we
thing.
can go control this and we can play the game
Right, but
better than the
don't
OTAs.
forget the other
But they
thing.
can't.
IHG backed away from it because they got a lot of pissed off franchisees when they lost a lot of volume. Right? I mean,
Right.
Jim Young ended up leaving IHG after that because,
Right.
from the owner's perspective, it didn't work. Right? Because what they looked around and said was, "Wait a second, we suddenly don't have as many heads and beds as we had." So
Right.
I was at the get your bingo cards out. I was at Sendon at the time. I was at Wyndham at the time, but it was Sendon then, right? And I launched.
Wyndham was still a pretty small hotel group at that time.
And we didn't even own. We didn't own.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
It was
Right.
the former HFS stuff.
Right. We had 6,500 franchised hotels. IHG was a big competitor of ours in the franchise sales space. I mean, more so than brand to brand. But we had 2,000 Days Inns, 2,000 Super 8s, and a lot of other stuff, right? Ramadas, Howard Johnsons, and the like. But I launched Best Rate or It's Free at that time.
Yep.
And the entire point of it was not to give people free rooms, but it was to ding franchisees. Candidly, it was the stick.
Yep.
And it was,
the carrot and stick.
when you guys became a great customer of Easy Yield.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
It became fantastic because the franchisees were like, crap.
But realistically, we had a small number of franchisees, and again, I'm pretty sure statute of limitations has passed on this because this is now 14 years ago or something like that, 13 years ago. But we had a handful of franchisees who just paid us the penalty because they were getting so much business from Expedia, so much business from Expedia and Travelocity in those days. A little bit of Orbitz, but it was just easier to pay us what we charged them for being out of parity because they were like, I can't give up on the revenue, and we more or less, we didn't look the other way, but if they
allowed it.
Well, we didn't really, honestly. When you're a franchisor, you only have so many arrows in your quiver, right? Okay, they're paying the penalty. Go forth and multiply. Or better yet, go forth and don't multiply. Go forth, right?
So taking this back to why I wanted to bring this up is I thought this was a good topic for our audience to hear. Is in your channel strategy, And Lauren, you haven't chimed in, but I'm guessing you're pro rate parity as well, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I wanted to give you a chance to disagree if you wanted to.
I'm sitting back here and
step into that.
Getting the history of all this stuff has been amazing because I just learned in the past 15 minutes more than I knew about the history of the OTA transitions. I mean, I knew bits and pieces, but it was a wonderful story to hear between all of you because you all had some very tight relationships at the time that I didn't have. That I'm sitting there going, so that's what happened. Oh, so that happened then. I love that, dude. That's why I'm quiet. I was just enjoying the hell out of this storyline.
When we cracked the code on the rounding methodologies of hotels.
Oh my God, the rounding.
When we cracked the code on that, you can't even imagine how many times I had to have my legal team, which was me, respond to legal letters. Right. Because what we did was we pointed out to hotels, hey. We can fix your rounding issue, and hotels would be like, rounding issues? What do you mean? Well, they round to $5.95 and $9.95. Oh, really? And so is it closest? No. It's closest next.
So rounding, Holly. Rounding was a situation where, when you split the rate over multiple days and things along those lines, if it was $99, just to make this really simple, or it would be $98.90. Sometimes the OTA would round it up to 99. Sometimes the OTA would round it down to 98.
No. Hold on.
No.
They never round it down.
Good point. Very good point.
And
the
understand
point being it was create a parity issue where you were off by either pennies or $1 or things like that, depending on how your T's and C's were worded, because we had to keep updating our damn T's and C's because some dickhead, pardon my French, I know I don't usually get salty on the show, but
salty.
Total butt out there built a blog that literally he was doing scraping or something, and literally every day he was updating. Here's the people who are out of parity, so you can go get free rooms, so you can game the system. So son of a.
So, but here's the thing they're actually not telling. So when you calculated your net rate to make sure that you were in parity, if you were off by a penny, they would round you up by another $5. Guess who kept the $5?
And it was never booked as gratuity.
So
what? They didn't give it to the hotel?
No, they didn't give it to the hotel. So what we did is we built in the Easy Yield dashboard. You put in your consumer rate that you wanted. Now, if the consumer rate you wanted did not match the consumer rate standards of Hotels.com, we would automatically round your net rate up so you kept the difference, and Hotels.com was only off on parity because of their rounding, which they would accept at the time. Right. But the difference is, and the reason they would accept it is because most times they were out of parity because of their rounding, and they made so much more. They made dollars. Per night.
But then and one of the reasons.
And the other one was the tax.
Oh well, and so that's the other thing.
Then
so
on the net rate.
So we took care of all of this for hotels. So by the way, when you look at a channel manager today, they're nowhere near as sophisticated as Easy Yield was. I don't know if Easy Yield still is, but Easy Yield took care of all of these things. So we set up your channels to know that they needed their consumer-facing rate with tax, without tax, rounded, without rounding. We knew all the rules of the engine, and that was actually just contract settings inside of Easy Yield.
Right.
So you could come into Easy Yield and say, I'm going to sell for $109 a night. Easy Yield would take care of everything else for you. Right. It would either bundle in tax if it needed to, it would take out tax if it needed to for a channel, it would do everything for you. By the way, it's why it cost a couple $100 a month. There was a lot of technology in there.
Right.
You get what you pay for.
And the thing that was really frustrating.
But it got down to T's and C's.
Well, right. But the thing that was really frustrating for us as a franchisor, particularly in those days, was I can't speak for how Wyndham handles this today or IHG or anything, but as a franchisor specifically, we wanted no part of setting rate.
Yeah.
Right. You provided no help, and none of them did.
And none of them did. And legally,
which was great for me.
It must have been awesome for you.
Yeah.
It drove us nuts as the guys who owned the channel because we were like, God blessed if we could just adjust the rate, we'd be much better off. But we were not.
There are so many fun stories.
Oh yeah.
Like Travelocity, by the way, if you violated rate parity with them more than twice, they would actually tell you that you were either off of Travelocity,
Yep,
or you had to buy Easy.
Oh.
Yeah, that's why I was so close to
nice
Travelocity.
partnership, Ed.
But again, the number of major hotel groups that did not basically negotiate with the OTAs. I mean, basically to say no, the after-tax rate that's what needs to be in parity. So all these games started getting played with undercutting structurally, a couple bucks here, a couple bucks there, price is low, and the hotels were just completely oblivious to it.
Completely.
And then and then we would wind up with situations again. By this time, I was in the tour operator space. And then, if you really want to see all hell break loose, there are people egregiously intentionally violent.
I mean, if we can call them out, Tarico.
And the
Oh
hotel
my gosh. Hotel beds in Tarico. I'm sorry. Like it was daily that we'd get called, and the hotel would be like, "Hey, I thought you had our rate parity taken care of. I just got a rate parity claim put against me." And it'd be like, "Oh, let me guess. Was it What If in Australia?" Yeah, how'd you know it was What If in Australia? We don't even work with them. Yeah, you work with Tarico, though, don't you? Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, they're selling your FIT, your standard FIT rate, to What If. And they're exposing it as a web price. Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh.
It was unbelievable. Well, but then we'd run into major hotel groups like Starwood, the freaking morons, who would just, all over the Caribbean, they were freaking idiots. The leadership were just ridiculous, just letting rampant violations of rate parity. It was killing their own business going through their channels. It was hurting our stuff because we were being the good Boy Scouts.
But you know
saying,
why?
Hey,
you know why, right?
Oh,
back then.
Yeah, they were
no,
getting
exactly why.
Yeah.
No, they architecturally couldn't handle it on their end.
I correct their system.
Oh no. They could.
Not from the hotel setting rates. It was such a nightmare back then. I know because this is one of the problems I solved for Starwood. It was such a nightmare back then. That every time Starwood tried to nail a hotel on a rate parity issue, the hotel would just push on them and say, "Listen, I can't load a different rate every day in the same calendar. So until you fix that, I'm not paying you the penalties." And that was actually something we fixed for Starwood was dynamic rates inside of a single calendar. We actually helped them fix their code for that, and that's when it started going away. The other problem was Starwood's revenue management system was a hurdle-based decision engine, but all the hotels were practicing BAR. That was the other thing the hotels leaned on why they shouldn't have to pay a penalty. So, ironically, another thing we fixed for Starwood.
But the things we were dealing with, because we were doing massive volume, we were playing it both ways, right? We had deals direct with hotels, and we had deals corporately. What I'm complaining about is the corporate stuff, the stuff that could get loaded. Those were the net rates that were getting put through, and then being undercut by a variety of tour operators and wholesalers, and just completely ignoring it, right? And it was just...
All I have to say is
incredibly stupid.
Today in distribution has it so easy.
Well, and the other thing is, right, the other thing, to bring this full circle where this conversation started, is the people who want to go back to this.
I know.
I mean, I'm like, oh my God.
Well, I mean, I'll just create another easy one. And I'll ride the wave again.
If you want to see how bad this is, because Brian's on the call from TripAdvisor, the TripAdvisor booking widget is an incredible microcosm of just the Wild West in distribution. Because you've got everything from certain OTAs, or again, who knows where they're getting the content from. They're rounding pricing. They're cutting prices. One client in New York has some very good hotels who do very well on TripAdvisor, and I brought up to them, this is weird. Look at what in this case it was Expedia, not to pick on Expedia, but Expedia had a really abnormally low rate, which is very un-Expedia-like, right? Yeah, they should not be 10, 15 bucks a night below everybody else. But what were they doing? They were scraping the little coupon code, right? Because on the business listing, you can go link straight to the hotel. They were looking at it because this was, and again, I don't know if this was probably not global. This was probably major market, high TripAdvisor rate, who knows? Maybe it was just experiments and they don't do it. But they were going through and finding out this is what you're offering on your lower rate, going direct to people on the hotel, and then they were matching it on TripAdvisor, right? Which is very easy for them to do, right? So it's like.
So hey, by the way, this all started from, should you fundamentally have rate disparity as part of your own website? And so here's the thing. On an unrestricted rate, absolutely not.
Damn straight.
Now, that being said, I want all hotels to learn about what is a restricted rate.
Right.
Because there are things you can do on your site.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
To benefit yourself, still do this scheme that you're trying to do, and not violate these agreements.
Right.
And when I say violate the agreement, I don't just mean the letter of the rule.
Right, you mean the
also still have face with the person you have to have a relationship with.
Right.
And the way you do that is by creating really good gated incentives in your website.
Yes,
That's
yes,
right.
yes.
That's exactly right.
And so it's something Flip2 does for hotels. Half the hotels.
What a coincidence!
Well, here's the thing. If you haven't noticed, the theme of my career is to take the temperature of where things are going and fix it.
Right.
And then convince everyone that this way is the better way to do it, and then watch that play out.
Right.
So, I mean, I did it with Easy Yield. It's what drew me to Flip2. Is Flip2 is the only thing I've seen that made sense to me from a social strategy, like a social marketing strategy. Because, by the way, displaying user-generated content on your site is not doing user-generated content. That's like checking the box.
Right.
And I guarantee you that everyone who only displays user-generated content on their site, if they actually put the correct analytics on their site, they would tell you the same exact thing. It's done nothing for them.
Right.
Now, understanding how to create an experience with user-generated content that leads to a different form of conversion, and doing that drives tremendous value. But here's where you break that, is then when you start spamming them with stupid generic emails. Because you started with user-generated content, highly personalized feeling, and then you send them spam.
Right.
So strategy is more than checking a box to say you do something.
Right.
I see that that's hard for hotels to keep their arms around, so I tend to do business in a way that takes these very complicated things and packages them into something that a hotel can afford to do.
Right.
So basically what Ed said in taking temperatures, he started with a situation where there were rectal thermometers a long time ago, and basically changed it to be, oral thermometer, and now he's got the little thing that you can put in somebody's ear.
I have one story to your old stories, and this might go back really, really far. But I used to, when I was a GM, I would modify the Excel sheets into the 10 decimal point range, so I would give myself margins on budgets that weren't existent because nobody looked that far, and I threw enough of it.
Superman 3.
Yeah. So I did the same thing with my rate when you're, back in 03, 02, 04. I would pad out my rate parity to keep triggering the alarms, so much so that they stopped checking me. So I would constantly throw out short-term, low rate, below the bar stuff when I needed to do quick pickup, and it never triggered anything because they stopped looking because I kept triggering everything with them.
Building scams, because that's a scam, Lauren.
It is a scam.
I mean, it really is.
It is a scam.
Scamming is not a long-term fix. And this is the thing I see over and over again that keeps this industry chasing its tail. Is everyone's trying to fool everyone else in these things rather than just fundamentally stopping, understanding what the strategy should be, and then correctly executing a strategy.
Right.
And so games are one thing. Now, Lauren, depending on what market you were in, that may have been your only choice, because back then there were markets that you couldn't sell direct.
No, but also, too, this was in the same time when Expedia, if you didn't give them inventory, would black out you, take your competitor, and hype amp them to sell them out, just to say, if you don't play nice with us, or play with us at all, we're going to keep screwing with your business. So this was back when they did that freeware.
You don't think they still do that?
Oh, they still do that, but back then it was blatant. Yeah, back then. Yeah, back then it was just blatant.
No, what they do is
in those days made loan sharks look like the nicest.
Yes. So I had no qualms in gaming the system. I'm like, screw you, we're gonna go at it. You know.
Many of the people who were there then are there now. It's a very different company.
So very different.
Talking about history, let's also not forget, the Catholic religion did some horrible things.
You never know when the Spanish Inquisition's coming.
It's a lot different now. So
I'm not going anywhere near that comment.
No, I did it for a reason, though. It's a perfect example of we're not beating on Expedia of today.
No, this is an old Expedia.
We're talking about Expedia of early days, and
well, not to coin Monty Python, but no one knows when there's a Spanish Inquisition.
Correct. Right. Well, but to go back,
and apparently it feels Dara is the Pope.
I gotta be honest with you. Expedia over the last 7 years has transformed its internal culture, and
it definitely has.
And it has radiated to its business practices.
Right.
Hotels are still mad at them because, let's be honest, they now very fairly take advantage of the hotels instead of just
Well, they're taking advantage of not talented people.
And actually, Robert, you wrote a piece about this, if I recall correctly. I think it was you. The issue is where Expedia has changed its stripes a lot is it's no longer going after property owners as the bad guys.
Right.
It's going after the brands as the bad guys.
Brands as the bad guys. Absolutely.
Right. The war is not between owners and Expedia. The war is between Expedia.
Well, and I think the other key difference is Expedia no longer feels like it has to keep the industry back. Because in the early days, it felt like Expedia was actively trying to push the industry down, where now, in a lot of their initiatives, they're actively trying to pull the industry up.
Right. Well, actually, one of the most telling things to me was in October or November of last year, Expedia hired, and I'm going to get his title wrong, but a VP of owner relations or property relations or something like that, specifically focused on how do we work better with property owners. Now that's a direct, how do we bypass the brands?
Mm-hmm.
Sure, right? But it's very much like we want to be a better partner to the hotel owners because, hey, that's where our bread is buttered.
Well, and by the way,
and they figured out
that's their actual customer.
Right. They're paying the bill.
Right.
Yeah.
Do we?
They're setting the pricing. No, but they're setting the pricing. They're controlling the inventory, and they're either paying the commission or providing a level of discount. Ultimately, even though it may be getting negotiated off, thousands of miles away. No, the one change is they're now a very data-driven organization. So before, when it was kind of the petty vindictiveness of, oh, you do this, we'll break your kneecaps sort of thing. Now they've realized, oh, wait a second, no, we don't want to break their kneecaps. We want that hotel to be on there because we can still make money. How do you optimize that revenue stream? And if they aren't playing nicely, move them down the sword order. And it's like, hey, they aren't playing nicely, and guess what? We don't make as much money from them as the other guys, so put the guys that we make money from at the top. And it's
do we answer?
That's a good business model.
Do we answer Holly's question of what technologies restraints are benefiting OTAs? Did we did all that? I just noticed that question.
I don't know if we've talked about today as much. What is this?
It's just I'm just being goofy. Go ahead.
Let's do Yeah, according to.
Oh, okay, yeah. Revenue was up 4%. Revenue capture was down. Yeah, no, the OTAs are continuing to gain share.
Yeah, but they're actually winning in a completely different area today, which is actually experience.
Right. some better users.
This is where my pushback on who their customer is came in slightly, right?
Well,
this is not my thing. Ted Tang is leading hotel.
Well, here's the thing.
Actually, just give me 1 second. Give me one quick second. Visa and American Express, right? You got to be very clear on who your customer is, right? American Express, their customer is the card holder, and they do what's right for the banks, so long as they're doing what's right, so long as it benefits the card holder.
Yep.
Visa, the customer is the banks, and they do what's right for the card holder, so long as it benefits the banks.
Right.
And I think one of the things that is open for some debate is whether Expedia is saying their customer is the traveler or their customer is the hotel, right? But that's not necessarily germane to this
But see,
part of the discussion.
it's actually really
they're focusing a lot on experience because they realize they can take care of the traveler.
no. They're taking care of the traveler because the traveler is actually their product.
Right.
No, that's exactly what I'm saying. That's
When
exactly
a
what I'm
service is
saying.
free to you, you are the product,
Right.
right? So the traveler is their product. The hotel and airline and the things that pay Expedia to bring the traveler to them, that's their customer.
I agree with that theory in many cases. Don't forget, the customer is the traveler is paying for the travel experience. So this is not quite the same as Facebook in that regard. So there is some debate of is the customer.
I think psychologically, the customer is not aware that they're the ones footing the bill.
I hear what you're saying, but the reality is, look at what Booking.com is doing now with alternative accommodations listings. Right? The customer is the traveler, and they can switch what the product is that they offer those guys anytime they want. Right? They can start bringing in MetaSearch results anytime they want.
I'm willing to guarantee you there's some interesting arguments inside these companies on who is the customer.
Oh, I get it.
But here's the thing. So here's the
No,
technology.
actually, Neat Group doesn't make my point. At
Big
Neat
Dog.
Group, we had a strategic. Oh, okay. But we had a strategic cube where, depending on how you looked at the organization, different customers, right?
Yeah,
Because
right,
in some
right,
cases,
right.
when you're doing dynamic packaging, you're like, wait, we are just technology. Oh no! From this perspective,
Right.
we're a tour operator. From this one, we're actually doing we're retail sort of thing. So I think the OTAs look at it that way. Yeah, and I think that's a very interesting way to put it because, again, you look at the acquisitions of these organizations. What are they always acquiring? Traffic, right? That is those are the things that they're out gathering up and aggregating because that's what makes them that's what gives them the leverage to get better margins and
I think from my point of view, what OTAs are taking advantage of today is the hotel's lack of sophistication in their digital guest engagement.
Oh, for sure.
That's what they're playing against now. Is they know they're better. They have a better booking experience. Their email communications are better. There's better strategy to their targeted advertising.
You look at Expedia's investment in Alice. They're looking at getting deeper into the overall value chain and how do we create a better experience at every stage of the game. Oh, absolutely.
And so they moved to the marketing stack because they realized that the brand's marketing stacks are archaic. They're using technologies. And some of them are burdened by it. Some of them are these monoliths that they can't get out of.
Well, look at IHG.
what else?
Favorite deal. I mean, they're definitely trying to press that.
Yep.
And you look at my dear friends at Marriott, who does a great job. You still can't sell through Barsha to adjoining rooms.
I mean, they're definitely trying to.
And you're like, wait a second,
Yeah.
that's pretty.
And you look at my
important.
dear friends at Marriott, who does a great job. You still can't sell through Barsha
And so here's
to
the
adjoining
thing.
rooms.
If you compare, and I did this, I don't think either of you were on the show. I think it was a Lauren and Ed show, where I shared with Lauren an absolutely embarrassing communication from one of the major brands, and I never said who the brand was, nor did I say enough that you could guess the brand.
Oh, tell us, please.
But no, I'll tell you about the
It's
email.
Nobody can hear this.
Yeah, exactly. I'll tell you about the email. Well, no, you probably got the email because I'm guessing you're probably a loyalty member to that brand. But it was a single. First of all, brand emails are all images. That's just a huge mistake.
Right.
It's just a gigantic mistake. Your emails should not be nothing but images.
Right.
Period. Full stop.
Right.
Secondly, the image they used was serving text.
Right.
The font they used was the incorrect font to use for that type of displayment, which then caused it. The end product looked like this. It looked like someone at the brand typed up the message, faxed
Took a
it
picture of it.
to someone
Oh.
using a thermal fax machine, who then scanned it to put it into a file and then converted it to a TIFF, and then sent it to the marketing department and said, "Send that email."
Right.
And I'd be lying if it didn't look like all this. I'm backing it up on this. I looked at this in shock. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me?
But Ed is now having a tiff about it.
I am. And so this is where, so look at where I'm fighting now. I'm fighting in the marketing stack. I'm fighting in communications.
Right.
Because this is the frontier that I saw that everyone's losing. The brands are losing here. Even the smart independent hotels are losing here. No one is gaining ground on the digital sophistication of the guest engagement that Expedia has. No one.
Well, and the
Name one that is
their use of programmatic, their use of programmatic and big data to really bid much better than any hotel brand.
Sure.
It is unbelievable. And again, one of the things, and nobody at TripAdvisor, maybe Brian will tell us, I don't know, probably not. But one of the things that I think the reason the OTAs are so good at this is they have a lot of cross-brand data, right? They know what's happening with purchase patterns by day of the week, by minute, by hour, by destination, by season, all these things, and the comparisons of what's going on between the dynamics of pricing versus brand versus location, all this, on a specific property level, not just for brand, very, very finite stuff, which then dictates, hey, should we bid, 80 cents or, $9.80 for this click, sort of thing, and for the same property, that may be a valid range.
Well,
sort of thing. But I think the one who really has interesting stuff, and I really don't know if TripAdvisor is keeping track of it though, is because they have all of this data of what's getting bid. I think TripAdvisor probably has a really interesting perspective on. Is Expedia a more powerful brand than Booking.com? Who's clicking what when there is rate parity and why, under what conditions, and who are those people? I think they have probably better data than anybody, or better exposure to that. I don't know how it's going to.
And on top of that, they have an ever-growing library of amazing content that they can also understand the impact of that content. So they have content with context, and they have all this other data. They're poised to take over the world.
Absolutely.
Well, okay. Now here's the thing that Brian won't.
I'm just going to keep talking because I got to get a word in here because I went back on one thing Ed said a moment ago. Ed, I agree with you completely with one caveat, right? When we talk about digital, there are only two ways to win, and that is either get big or go very niche. So there are independents who actually are winning, but they're doing it because they're going very niche. The caveat I would make to the point you said a moment ago is there's nobody who's able to do this at scale who's competing with the OTAs. Right?
To be fair,
the reason I want to make this point is because for the people who are watching this show, if you're an independent hotel or you're a single hotel or things along those lines, the message you should take away from this is not, oh God, I have no hope. The only thing I can do is outsource. Right? I want to be really clear that's not a message people are taking away here. As an individual hotel or a small group of independents, you can do it, but you really got to focus on the niche and you really got to focus on differentiating yourself separate from being like everybody else. Because if you do what everybody else is going to do, everybody else does, then you're screwed.
Yep.
Then
I can tell you when we're talking to a hotel, if I'm talking to someone who knows what they're talking about, because what comes up a lot in our conversations with hotels is number of communications.
Yeah.
And when they have a number, when they say we can't exceed 6, that's
Yeah.
actually when I know I'm talking to someone who doesn't understand.
Who doesn't get it. Right. Right. If you have a 15,000, I was just having this conversation with a client this week. If you have a 15,000 person list, or a 150,000 person list, or a 1.5 million person list, the right answer might be not sending, one message to the right answer is definitely not sending one message to 15,000.
Unless it's
sending
we're closed for 3 days.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
That's the only
I'd be
time.
sending 15 messages to 1,000 each with chunks of overlap. So one guest might get all 15 messages.
Yep, and if they're correct, if they're the correct content, that guest will not mind.
Will not mind at all.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. So
But how many hotels
there, because you got to be clear about that.
But what percentage of either at property level or brand level really understand that and manage to that?
I can tell you why. It's not even how many do. I can tell you why. It's because for some reason this industry continues to keep itself isolated.
Right.
There are industries who have figured all of this out. Like the cup of tea that this industry is drowning in today is been figured out by all the biggest players, and yet I look at the teams that work at some of these companies, and not a single one of them are from an organization that has done communication at scale. They're all internal development, and so here's the thing. It's great. I love the hotel industry's passion about bringing people up the ranks, but the thing the hotel industry doesn't do for those people is give them the correct training.
That's right.
Because you don't want someone having their finger on the button to be able to reach 250 million people unless they've actually done that somewhere.
That's right.
And have been taught by people who actually understand that type of communication.
Well,
and
that's just explicitly articulated why half of my clients are in the hospitality industry and half aren't. Right?
Yeah.
Because one of the things we try to bring back, and I'm not doing a commercial for my practice by any means, I'm not the only one doing this,
but it's about time for you to do that. So.
No. It's the fact that there are many things the hospitality industry can teach to other industries about
100%.
customer service, about how you treat guests, about how you're responsive to the needs of the customer, about how you personalize the experience, largely without technology, let's be fair, but how you personalize that experience. And there's a ton of stuff that the hospitality industry can learn from technology industry, from financial services, from whatever, CPG, etc., about how do you develop a product, how do you put it in front of the right customer, how do you message it correctly, how do you segment your lists, how do you actually focus the message more appropriately to the needs of the customer at the right time.
Right.
Which properties do great when it's a person talking to a guest, and do terribly the minute it's somebody in an office.
Well, and look at Airbnb as an example, right?
Yeah.
I mean, those guys started up. They built a world-class tech team, world-class communications team, but then the real key was they brought in Chip Conley, right? Because that was the real thing that said, now wait a second, we've got to make sure that we've got this experience, and we're developing these really, the hospitality has to come screaming out. And guess what? You guys don't know that. You're really good at the communication. You're really good at the tech. But now you've really got to figure out that guest experience. And you really need those components. You need the communications and marketing. You need the hospitality, and you need the technology. And that's how this stuff has to work now.
By the way, my column for Hotel News Now that just came out the other day was why Airbnb is winning with guests and how you can too.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Net Promoter Score in the high 90s.
Tim, I want to add one thing to your statement where you said either go really big or go niche. I'd put an extra statement into it, knowing when to choose your battles, because you can put a black eye.
For sure.
And it's not because you're incredibly large or incredibly niche. Is you pick and choose your battles so precisely at just the right time, at just the right circumstances, that you can create massive impact, but then recoil quickly so that you're not caught being crushed by something large and huge.
Well, I'll tell you, the hotels,
right? Like, what can you own specifically that is your thing, right? You know, my clients do tend to be independent hotels. They're very small groups or things along those lines. And I tell all of them, buy your technology. You don't have the skill set. You don't have the gravity well where good guys who are good at tech or people who are good at tech are going to go, yeah, I want to work there, generally speaking. They create a culture. So buy your technology. Own the experience, own the service, own the differentiation of what separates you from other people in market. You know, we talked before. Robert, you mentioned about my friends being sold out, or Ed. No, Robert, you were talking about my friends down in Charleston being sold out. Not only are they sold out, they well above index in terms of rate as well. Yeah. Because if you do it well, you can charge more. People are happy with that.
And let's be honest, like, let's go back to that Airbnb case study. They did exactly what the most successful companies in the world do, which is they bring in specialties for what it takes to be successful. Right. This industry isn't doing that enough. And you can see the hotels that do it well. Like, we kind of go, when we come across a hotel whose head of marketing has never worked in a hotel before. Right. We're like, wow, they're from somewhere else. Like, I can't wait to see what this hotel's done differently. And you can see it. You can. Well, I'm sorry.
No, you can. But I've also seen failures in that too, where they just go, oh yeah, we're with Coca-Cola and we're going to go do this, and they aren't taking in where they don't really understand the industry.
Yeah, if you're not, first of all, if you're not of the scale of Coca-Cola, you shouldn't be hiring someone at that scale. So a person from Coca-Cola could go into Marriott and be successful because all the people around them who are hospitality would make sure that what they're doing is hospitality, but they could bring in the lessons from Coca-Cola. Right. And that's how it would work. But you bring a person from Coca-Cola and put them inside of even MGM, right? That organization's not big enough to overcome the bravado that comes from, I managed one of the most recognized brands in the world.
Right. With the caveat that unless that person was not of the Coca-Cola culture, and that's why they left, right? And the whole reason they're looking to you is because they're a better cultural fit.
They may have sat next to the person.
Right, exactly.
That's always the trick in hiring anyone, though, is trying to figure out, were you the person who did it, or were you sitting next to the person who did it?
Right. But Ed is, it's funny, Ed and I have a common client. We were just having this conversation earlier this week. I can share this and telling you details out of school. When the client first found me, we went through, what's your occupancy, what's your ADR, how do you index, etc. And their numbers were spectacular. Their numbers were really good. And I said, here's the thing, I'd love to work with you because you sound like a cool property, you're doing some really cool stuff and everything. I said, I don't know that I can help you enough to pay for the cost of me. Right? And the GM's response was, and that's why we want to work with you, because we're looking for how do we do best in class, how do we get better at this, how are we always pushing it beyond where we are today. And if we find out that, we work with you for a time and that's as good as it's going to get, then great. At least we know we have pushed it as far as we can push it. So let's go ahead.
And that's the right type of attitude.
That was almost 4 years ago.
Because the other thing and Lauren and I went into this, is the thing I've always just not been able to understand. I've never worked at a hotel. So maybe I need to work at a hotel to understand this. But
you gotta make some beds and cook some food, Ed. You really got to appreciate it.
I've done hospitality type business. Like my first job, and I think every kid's first job should be a restaurant or a hospitality type business, because the fundamentals it teaches you are fantastic. So my first job was McDonald's.
Whether or not you did a good job or not.
Yep. So, but the thing that's blowing my mind is the size of a business unit that a single hotel is, like an annual revenue.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and what I use as an example is, for the longest time at Easy Yield, we were smaller annual revenue than most of our customers. And yet, our focus on the things that we did was at such a higher level than we were seeing our customers wanting to do. And I could never understand that, because it's like, holy crap, you have such a valuable asset, such a huge amount of cash flow, and such a concentrated amount of employee count to that cash flow. I've never understood the just this unwillingness to try and be the best at every single thing that you do, and then when you recognize that it's impossible for you to be the best at it, is find someone who can. Right. Whether that's a service, whether it's a consultant, whether it's a technology. Like, I've never understood that missing component from most hotels, even though I look at these hotels and I look at how much annual revenue goes through one of these hotels, like, it's never lined up to me that someone's not at the top going, hey, like, we don't do this well. Can we be better? Right. Oh, no, we can't? Okay, then let's find someone who can make us better.
Right.
Because
the economy sector. Oh, boy. Yeah, let me tell you, the economy lodging sector, it's tough, but huge. You're doing it right. If you run a really good operation that's inexpensive and it's clean and you have a staff that's welcoming and hospitable, I've never seen. I went from I'm sorry, I gotta say it. Fill out your bingo card. I went from Four Seasons to Journey's End.
Bingo!
Yep, you got it. But I mean, and my wife's comment, I've said this, I probably said it a couple times on the show, was, do they have soap in the rooms, right? So I knew where she stood on the transition.
I thought
that little economy lodging company made a hell of a lot more money.
Ed, I thought of you today. Yesterday when I was traveling, when the hotel that we were checking in, we checked in late the night before, and I'm sitting at the front desk, and it's a very pleasant girl, and we're late. It's just before night audit, and she went to check in on one of the computers, and this was a newer building. This is this XYZ brand that was less than a year old, and she's on a computer, and she's, oh no, I'm sorry, I can't check in here. This computer just keeps having problems. Oh, okay. So we move over to the other terminal, and she's working on checking me in. I look over at the terminal that she was having problems with, and the keyboard had some sort of tape on the wire that went to the computer. The computer was sitting right behind the keyboard, beneath the monitor, right behind the countertop. There's two USB plugs sticking straight out that I could just touch. So I'm thinking, wow, there goes a little security issue. And secondly, I'm looking at it, and it's an old ThinkPad, not ThinkPad, but Think box, generic box, and it's got about an inch of caked dust shit on the back, and it's got dust crap all over it, and I'm.
For some of you, got to check the floppy disk.
Well, it had a drive in it, but anyway. So I asked her, I says, hey, just real quickly, can you scoot your computer and just take that off the back of it? And she's like, oh, yeah, that's really, because they never look at it. You get blinded to stuff. She takes it off to it. And I said, and what was the tape? Oh, he said, well, we found out the wire was a little loose. He says, well, clean up the. So the next morning I went in to check, to check out. We're getting done grabbing some breakfast and stuff like that. And she was still there. She was the morning shift. She did night and then she did morning shift. She opened and closed the audit guy. Yep. And she's like, the computer's working great. Thank you so much. And I'm like, all you did was take the inch dust bunny off the back of it. But the USBs were sticking out, and I'm thinking, wow, Ed would have a field day with this. Just jack a USB in there, just have fun or something. But but going back to your point about the economy business, you can be exceptionally good at something. And what I did notice about this one was it's in the middle of nowhere in a town that you're not necessarily unless you're passing through. But they were very clear about things around their area that were of general transport interest. One of the things that were of interest to me was, when we called, we mentioned that we were pulling a trailer. Is their parking lot circular? And they said yes, but what was nice was they actually had information at the front desk that they can share as to where you can pull through gas stations at high, because this is a pass-through market. It was just a small little nuance, and they identified the market.
Someone who does it well.
I've told this story more than once. I used to work with a franchisee who ran at about 58% occupancy, and was adamant about not doing much to get much above that, because he knew for his profitability, the minute he went above 58, 59% occupancy, he'd have to hire another housekeeper, and he couldn't sustain the service and the quality, and he wasn't getting enough business to sustain that all the time. So he managed to a very clear thing, and did a really good job, and ran an incredibly profitable business, and gave people a good experience for $59 a night.
Know who you are. Know what you're good at. Don't try to be something you're not.
Right.
On the things that you want to be good at that you just don't possess the talent, know-how, whatever, look outside.
Right.
And outside your market. Right. Like, seriously, it's really easy to do this.
By the way,
for the roadside properties,
bunch of good conversation, but I do have to bail, unfortunately.
Well, I was about to say, because we were just ready to hit the Red Lion discussion of the 6 months before and after fact.
Oh, sorry.
Oh,
that's all right.
I want to have that conversation.
Tim doesn't like being controversial.
Unfortunately, I have a client commitment coming up in just a little bit.
Tim is off solving problems that we just talked about today.
That's right. He's saving the universe. Okay, Star-Lord, you're saving the universe. The galaxy.
I don't know about one property at a time.
That's right. Hey.
I'm happy to save one property at a time. We'll do it that way.
So to wrap that up, so Tim, where can they find you?
They can find me at timpeter.com or at tcpeter on Twitter.
Excellent.
Awesome.
Thank you for your time.
Yes, Tim.
Thank you, gentlemen. It is always a pleasure. I will look forward to seeing you next week. All right?
All right, Tim. Thank you very much.
Bye now.
Bye.
So to wrap that all up, though, is in these things, like where the OTAs are winning today, just like where the OTAs used to win, hotels can get their arms around it, but they got to get their heads right about it.
Yeah.
And to get their heads right about it, the answer isn't to keep doing the same thing you've always done. That's what got you in trouble in the first place, like with the OTAs. The OTAs are going to take advantage of being better than you are at the things you do. Now, I'll say something that'll drive Robert nuts. If your owner refuses to allow you to become better at the things you need to be better at, you should take a long, hard look at your budgeting. You should look and say, all right, my owner's not going to let me displace the OTAs more than X.
Right.
So then don't spend over it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I see hotels having this conflicted issue. Is they hate the OTAs, and then it's like, okay, so take some of that money and do it yourself. Now my owner would never let me. Then don't hate the OTAs.
Well, also, add to that, the pitfall of the shiny new object syndrome, where they make the wrong choice of, if they are limited, to your point, you're dealing with not a negative owner, but a skeptical owner, is to don't take the monies that you do have access to and chase something that's going to garner attention, like, look at this newfangled whatever we did, and look at what we did with it. Instead, put it into something that shows the real profitability, so you build confidence with the owner and saying, look, okay, you didn't let me play with all these other things. You're not letting me do this over here. So I cored what we're doing into the things that I know can sustain the return on investment to show you that the value proposition is at least there and we should grow from it. People make that wrong choice all the time.
If you can put it right, exactly. It's the really basic blocking and tackling. And basically saying, hey, look at this. We spent a little bit of money. Look at the ROI. We need to do more of this because it works, right? And it builds confidence with the owner. It feeds exactly what they're, I always say with all of my clients, you've got to look at what are the objectives of that organization. And of course, all the ones who run the problem, they don't have objectives, right? They're just, we want to do whatever, right? But you say, okay, here's the owner. He's a problem. Well, what's he interested in? Oh, he's got a really big mortgage note that's got to get paid. So and adding, like what Tim's saying, adding that additional housekeeper, there are different things where you go, right, you know what? The optimization is 58% occupancy in this particularly weird scenario, and you need to understand those things and say, good, so we're managing this, so here's what we've got, and let me tell you, the ability for hotels who have nothing to scrape things together and to build traffic and to improve conversion and to understand their guests and to provide great experiences. I know one little, kind of a economy roadside sort of on an interstate, big interstate, but they started targeting, motorcycle, riders, right? Because, and all of a sudden they start working with Harley Davidson. Harley Davidson has a little site on Great Rides, and they wound up becoming kind of the entry point on the interstate that kind of goes off into this really cool area. And so what do they do there? They've got a locked pen, right? They got rid of a few parking spots. Okay, that's kind of a problem. But it's a secure pen, a hose so people could wash their butt. They gave them bottles of water. I mean, this is not really.
And I bet you, let me guess, did their ADR go through?
Oh, absolutely.
Because, by the way, Harley drivers,
they got money.
They are.
No, they got money. They got money.
They are lawyers, doctors, and PR firm owners, and it's not who you think it is.
And word gets out that these guys, they like us here They understand us. They're great guys, and they've got tips, right? They know about the thing. That's what I was saying. Like with Journey's End, it was really interesting the quality of the general manager and the engagement of that general manager to the guests. Again, love Four Seasons to death, but much higher. I mean, the Four Seasons GMs, they're in meetings. They're regional VPs. They're off at different properties. The guests rarely see those guys. This, in this property, they're the guy checking the person in. A lot of the time. And yes, they know everybody in town. It's the old innkeeper back to the Roman highway days where the inn was the safe place with the person who knew it, or the Old West, right? I always say the innkeeper was arguably in the top 3 most important person in town. There was the mayor, there was the sheriff, and there was the hotelier. And the hotelier sometimes was most powerful because he knew what the sheriff.
Where does the madam fit into that? Where did the madam go on that one? Because I thought the madam would be,
the hotelier was.
You know where the madam was.
Another real quick thing was in terms of, because we were talking about the economy segment, a little segue. There's a T-News article that Sojourn, I think Sojourn put it together and then pulled some data from Google, but they were looking at mobile, right? And they broke it down kind of by chain scale. I'm not strict SDR chain scale, but basically, right? So their point was for percentage of searches that are coming from mobile devices. At the luxury sector, it's 45%, which is a pretty big number. Everybody goes, okay, that makes sense. Upscale, 53%. Mid-scale, 62%. Economy scale, 73% of the searches are mobile.
Yeah, and
so
it makes sense.
All of a sudden, it makes absolute sense. It's last minute. What are we going to find? We're looking for someplace. And then you look at it, how many of these economy properties have good mobile optimized sites that are, that are responsive.
But you also have to think about device-wise why it makes sense. Okay, I've never been an economy customer. Even when I was an economy budget, I was not an economy customer. But I still do a lot more on desktop than I do mobile, not because of why you think. It's not because it's easier or things like that. It's because I have a lot of devices. I have, iMacs, I have laptops, I have phones, I have, iPads. But I look at friends of mine who are in that, limited service budget. Their phone is nicer than their computer.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Or they do have an iPad, and they never use their computer anymore because they can't afford the nicer computer. Because the nicer computer is still north of $1,500, but you can get an iPad that will outcompute anything at its same price point, or a Windows device. But the mobile market has taken the economy segment and has given them premium product at a premium price, and that impacts behavior throughout the world. So it lines up. I mean, think about who buys the ultra luxury, and think about, okay, so what other things are they going to have? They're going to have a very expensive laptop, probably. They're going to specialize their devices. They're going to use them for specific things. And like my wife only uses her iPad to read books. She uses it for nothing else. That is not feasible in the person who's primarily the customer of economy. However, the person who's primarily the customer of economy has a tablet or has a phone that is the same exact phone or tablet as someone who buys, at the luxury scale. The difference is it's their only device, or it's their only device that's fast and has all the modern experiences and things like that. So you need to look at those trends and not say, let's go back to the basic human reason why that exists. Is it's not because economy people are early adopters. It's because for the first time, really high quality electronics, premium electronics, are being acquired by that person too, and they're going to use it more than someone who has all the other.
And even the huge portion of the population who's not necessarily technologically savvy, right?
Right. It's easier to use a mobile device than it is a computer.
My wife has always said she's a complete technophobe. She's always hated computers. Grudgingly uses email, things like that. Her computer, her notebook computer, died, right? And we replaced it with a Surface Pro, which is great, right? Works really well. She does not use it, and very, very rarely. Maybe to compose a letter or something like that. She's got to go write something. That's about it. Everything else is completely on her phone. I mean, she probably uses it
because you can't mess up your phone
5% of the time, right?
Yeah, you can't mess up your phone. You can't do something that you're sitting there going, "What did I do?" And so,
and if she has to read a huge amount of text or compose, she has to create a bunch of content or something.
Well, I can tell you,
very rare. Then she uses the computer. Otherwise, it's 100%.
Yeah, I can tell you firsthand. I mean, honestly, you already have family tension when you're traveling. Inherent. You're tired. You're driving. Whatever it is. And
no, that's just you, Laura.
That's just me. Okay, it's just me. You know, the other is it's like there's certain aspects about it. And I was always surprised that people don't target in on these things. Everybody, when they move, has at least one time where they have to drag a trailer with them because they have plants or fuel or generators, things that the movers can't move, even if you have somebody moving you. And then you may be moving yourself and so forth. There's demographics for that as well. And, not everybody drives a trailer all the time to be comfortable and be able to back that zippy thing up and wherever you want to. You don't.
You do not want to back up.
You do not want to go backwards, right? And when you're driving a truck, you're driving a truck and stuff, or a trailer, don't want to do that either.
Your soul is dedicated to never having
So you're pulling into a market, and you just have to go back to fundamentals of what people are looking for. You don't know what's a good rate or a bad rate in a market. We can look at Hattiesburg, and 1 minute it's $1.99, and you're like, what the hell is it, $1.99? Well, guess what? It's spring break, college break, parents are driving. There is not a hotel room in that town. You're going to get less than that. And then a week later, it's $35. And you know what? Right. Yeah. So there's different things about it, but if you were to structure your content correctly or consumer feedback correctly, first thing limited service hotels can do is amp up your score. There will be people that will stay at the little no-name hotel if you're a 5 or a 4, because the first thing they're worried about is, gosh, do they glue down the remote, or isn't there even a remote? And do I have to check under the sheets to make sure things aren't crawling? But if you get good feedback, you're on your phone, like you said, it's like, boom, hey, you know what, this place is not bad, and it's a good price, and it's right off the road. And then if you say things like, these restaurants, you can pull in and pick up food and not back up, Or, you know what, if you have your pets with you, because that's why you're traveling, then these are the places you can go and walk in with your pet or have an outdoor seating, and you don't have to worry about backing up. If you add these things, if you think through who's showing up at your doorstep rather than just building a hotel on the side of the road by some town, and your limited service place, and identify, like you said with the motorcyclists and so forth, know your market, know who you are in that market, like Ed says. You're going to go over and get the business, and you're going to be able to charge for it, because I'll pay the $10, $20, maybe even $30 more compared to your competitor if you're good rated, you tell me where I can park, you got well-lit parking lots, you got all the little things, like I can walk in with my dog or whatever it is like this, and I feel like I have to drop $100 non-refundable. Come on, really? The dog is not that messy. I can figure if I bring in a greyhound or something or a basset hound or something that they're going to drool, but most of the
time, a toddler is going to do your room.
Yeah, exactly. It's like
let's be honest.
I'll give you a great example of knowing the market. I pulled into I think it was a Baymont or something like that, because when we were moving down from Milwaukee, I had a big 25-foot truck with a car trailer behind it. Right, not a good situation.
Don't want to back up.
You don't want to back up. But driving out, and rider, great experience, everything. But we had an engine check light come on. Right, and we're just like a couple hours into the drive. We're about halfway there. So call them up, go, oh, what is this? They're like, okay, we will send somebody out. Where are you going to be? And we booked this hotel. It's like, well, we're going to do this family. Go in there, explain the situation that, hey, I think somebody's going to be coming here, so I don't really know. When they show up, can you call me and wake me up? These guys knew their market because they had these movers, and they said, oh, no, here's what you do. Do you know their name and this sort of thing? Feel free, leave us the key. We will work with them. You go to sleep. We'll make sure if anything's going wrong, we will have them get a hold of you. But we have this. Here's my name. I'm going to be. And they took care of it. I could sleep all night with the quote. And I don't know what they did. They probably just unplugged they probably unscrewed the bulb. Right? I have no idea. But the truck worked. Right? And it was fun. And it was all done. And I didn't have to pay.
I hope you gave them a good trip advisor.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was fantastic.
Because that's amazing.
Exactly,
that is
it's exactly what you
Yep.
need, right? It's how do we, and bottom line, I mean, it doesn't matter. Economy level, the one commonality of all of these guests is they're looking for good value, a great experience, and a reasonable price for that experience. And it doesn't matter. And oh wait, sorry, one other thing is the guys who are in the luxury hotels who are staying on business, a lot of times when they're driving themselves with the family going, they're staying at the economy stuff when they're spending their own, their own dollar. And that's something, again, major hotel groups completely miss, where it's just unified, oh, you're a high-end customer doing this, and, go stay at the, at the St. Regis or the Ritz, and, upsell them, upsell. It's like, wait, you don't understand this overall behavior.
Actually, use that point of view and look at Wyndham's new reward program. You think all the brands don't get it? I think they may. Because that person who is staying at one of the, however the nice term is today for a less expensive hotel.
Select service?
Okay. Select service hotel, they're now going to get points to stay at one of Wyndham's very high-end hotels at the same rate as a select service. Where are they going to stay? They're going to stay at a high-end hotel, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, but then they're going to go to work. So where are they going to want to stay when they're working then now? Like Wyndham, that's actually pretty smart on their side. Interesting story to knowing yourself, but also fighting the powers. So we came across a hotel through a large group deal. It's a hotel that we knew was going to be a customer regardless because we didn't have a choice. And when we looked at the hotel at first, my team kind of panicked because the reviews online were really, really bad. Like, really bad.
Big hotel?
Huge budget hotel, which I've never seen a hotel of this size have rooms at this price point. But as I started digging into it, because we needed to make sure this goes well because of the large group deal that's involved in this, I actually realized, and so when I got on the phone with the person, I said, hey, let me ask you a question. Because you'd read like horrible review, great review, horrible review, great review, horrible review. And so I said, let me ask you a question. So this hotel has rooms as cheap as like $35 a night, and then rooms as expensive as $150 a night on the same property. Right. So this property is massive. It's like, it's huge. Imagine like being on Miami Beach and having a property that spanned in 3 of the roads, right? Like how the experience would be different based on how close you were to the beach, right? This hotel has that challenge. And when you go to this hotel's website, they're very good at laying it out. Like the $35 a night room is inside the city, but for $35 a night, you get a water park, you get an arcade, 6 restaurants, beach access. I don't know a $35 a night hotel that has the amenities this hotel has. Right. So then I asked, I said, so are those OTA customers that are giving you the negative feedback? Because when I went to the OTAs, they sold them as run a house.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm like, you can't sell this hotel run a house. You just can't.
Yeah.
Because there's a massive difference between their oceanfront room and what is effectively just a motel on the property.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
You know, because listen, someone paying $35 a night to get all those amenities is going to be happy.
Yep.
Someone, though, who looked at the $150 a night imagery and description gets put in the $35 a night.
They get pissed.
They're going to just like, you've destroyed them. Yeah. And it was all OTA.
They turn into the Mr. Obvious Hotel ads that Expedia runs. Yes, Tommy, that's a dead finger over there.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. And so what it came from is they know who they are, and in their marketing and their customer base, they're very happy because they even said it. They're like, you don't stay here because you're looking to spend a lot of time in the room.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You stay here because you're here with your family, you need a place to put your stuff, and you're only going to sleep there. It's clean.
Yep.
But that's it. Like, that's the only promise. It's clean, and then the amenities are amazing.
Right. You throw your bag in the room and you sleep there. The rest is to enjoy the rest of the place. If you want a room that you want to spend time in, you pay the money to spend the time in the room, kind of thing. Yeah.
So are the annex rooms really poorly maintained with really crappy old furniture that's still clean, or are they just small?
Like this hotel is haunted with challenges. Like, first of all, there's not. Actually, I'll give you a perfect example. There's not an LCD TV in the hotel.
No, no.
Okay. So, and part of it is it's a multi-generational family-owned property,
Right.
and the plan was to tear the whole thing down. But, a little thing
But
happened.
it's making so much, yeah.
Well, no, a little thing happened that financially set them back a bit, so now they're recovering from it before they get back to tear it all down.
But this also, you can talk about these things, condo-owned places where you have so many transitional type rooms because of the ownership's process in the revamp and not revamp. I mean, there was a place in Canada I had that had, seriously, you'd walk in and you swear to God you went back to the 70s with the real shag carpet and hanging chain lamps, and the TV was was an analog TV that was 4 foot deep.
With a big armoire.
Oh yeah, huge, massive armoire, and yet then there was the other rooms that were totally specced out, that were perfect, and you had the disparities and stuff.
So they know who they are, and they've actually told me they've gone to battle with the OTAs over marketing them correctly. They can't get the OTAs to do it, so I said to them, here's my suggestion. You're a complex. I won't say the number of buildings because I don't want to give them too much away, but let's say they're over 10 buildings. And when I say building, imagine 10 hotels near each other that this family just acquired. Okay?
Right, yep.
Your complex should be the brand, and every building should be a hotel.
Should be a property, right, exactly.
A property. And
but it depends on their property management. Can their property management system handle that? Because a lot of them can't.
Listen, when you're over 500 rooms, and there are times of the year you are sold out, like for months at a time, you can afford the correct property management system to do that correctly.
Well, yeah, you should be able to, but again...
there's that, and also just to take some inventory off market.
And what it's all connected to, if it's really old, it can be really expensive. And again, if they're looking at short term, we're just going to make the money and then tear it down, they might not have the ROI.
But there are answers to that, though. There are answers.
Yeah, you take some inventory out of OTA offering as well, just not offer your tie-in and offer your upper... I mean, there's strategies, you know about those, but just, those things. Hey,
you gotta work around the limitation.
You don't need to change your operation to operate that way. You just need to change how you contract with the OTA.
Exactly. You need to be negotiating that with Hey, before we get too far, just to touch on the red line, I know Tim might want to bring it up again next week. I will next week be asking, because I'm doing the Rocket for HSMAI, and I convinced them, and now I have to live by what I've convinced them, that they're going to be bringing up the Stump Lauren segment, where I sit on a chair and they throw a dart at a bullboard and see if I can fall in the water. No, they're going to bring a revenue manager in market, and we're going to have a unscripted revenue management to digital marketing conversation. What are the disparities? Where are the positives? How do you create the dialogue? What do you talk about? What do you refer to? How do you collaborate? Cold call stuff. So I want to, and it's going to be a half-hour segment for each of. We're doing Baltimore, New York. New York should be real freaking interesting, and St. Louis. And they're going to take a revenue manager out of the audience and sit up front from me and go.
So you're going to do New York?
Yeah.
Who's running that event? Because I'd like to help pick the revenue manager.
Well, right now, okay, sure. Do I have friends on the show, or do I have friends on the show?
Because all I heard when I heard Stump Lauren was challenge accepted.
Yeah, challenge accepted. But it should be fun because I actually want to get stumped. Yeah, I want to get stumped. I want us, but what I also want to demonstrate to everybody in the room that's our revenue manager and ownership is this conversation has to happen in your hotel. You have to have whoever's doing what I'm doing in your world and whoever's doing your revenue management has to be talking like this. And yes, you should be butting heads on stuff, and you should be hitting stuff. Anyway, I want to throw that in you guys' head because next Friday I'd love to go through questions or scenarios that you think would be great to bring in because I'll drag them into the conversation with it. I think that it's a necessary. I've been on Soapbox for a long time. A necessary conversation. So now that I got them convinced to throw this into this Rocket program, I want it to be because I want to record all of them, and we're going to share that stuff because it's boom, this is what's going on.
There's lavalier mics.
Oh yeah, I will be. I'll be using the labs. I actually still have them, but I'll be doing labs. But anyway, there's that. But I wanted to see if we want to hit the red line for the rest of the few minutes we have today.
Sure.
Real quick.
Tee it up.
Well, obviously, 6 months ago, Red Lion decided to go over and not hoard themselves up. That's just negative.
That's really, dude. My gosh.
Yeah, and they gave themselves up to their loyalty program with Expedia. And now, 6 months later, they've recorded their first corporate loss. And we know there's a lot of moving pieces to this.
Not their first corporate.
True, okay, yes. Well, in recent years, this is their first. Yeah, this is their first drop below profitability for the past few years that they've had this. Or not that they had this, but they've been as a company. And so now they're on the negative side of things. Now, we know there's a lot of moving pieces behind this that, in retrospect, did not get handled correctly. And so there's 2 articles. I'll put up the articles while we're doing this. So that's my tee off to that.
Well, okay.
But here's the thing. So first, they acquired a massive company last year.
Yeah. Well, I've got their earnings release here. Let's just go through because I think this is kind of a sensational, embracing the OTA, the dreaded OTAs killed Red Lion was the subtext of a lot of this stuff, which is completely off, completely unfounded, right? I mean, there may have been things that didn't work so well, but okay, if you look at all of 2016, they had a 4.7 million loss compared with net income of 2.7 million in 2015. So that is a big spread, right? But when you look at what they're really doing, they completed $26 million in renovations to reposition their hotels that are owned through joint ventures. They executed 86 new franchise agreements across the sector, because of these recently acquired brands, and they completed the acquisition of the Vantage guys, so now they have over 1,100 hotels. When before
so
they had
went from what, like
100.
400?
I think they were lower than that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was maybe a
So
couple
they
hundred.
grew by 10.
Fivefold, tenfold, whatever it is. Now, but if you look at the fourth quarter, okay, because Expedia killed them. Well, they had a GAAP net loss of 2.3 million compared to a net loss of 6.3 million in 2015. So you go, wait a second, that's a $4 million improvement. And if you look at adjusted EBITDA, it improved to positive 2.8 million from negative 6 million.
Which tells you the shortfalls all came around one-time spend activities, not around this deal that they did with Expedia.
Right. Yeah.
I'm sorry, did we pick this article up off of Skift?
The first one was the headliner of it. The second one wasn't. Then that was a shared one from just like I said, the headliner wise, because we actually ran last year. It wasn't Skift we ran it off of. We ran it off of eHotelier, I think it was, because they made the big announcement. And we thought it was kind of odd that they went that way. I'm not disagreeing with you on the metrics of one-time purchases that created this and so forth. I think it created the cash flow, but some things that I saw that they didn't do. One, they didn't even change the name of the loyalty program to be brand reflective, which they should have done. They left it generic in that sense.
I mean, they just acquired Vantage.
Right. And their RevPAR declines are because of that, right?
Right, because Vantage was only, they were growing off of picking up, people deflagging Wyndham and stuff like that. That was what they were focused on.
Absolutely.
So you got to think about what that's going to do to the overall averages when now they're more Vantage than they are Red Lion from account.
Right.
So I caution people on looking at these numbers and coming to solid conclusions on anything, because what a transitional year it was for Red Lion. I would wait a little bit, and I'd look more at trending. So like Robert said, you look at fourth quarter. The trends are really what you need to watch, because you don't know what Red Lion's going to be until Red Lion is what it is.
And certainly companies can spin things different ways, but when you look through their earnings releases and their announcements, you'll see things like, and Red Lion laid it out pretty well, operational results. They achieved system-wide RevPAR growth of 2.9%, which isn't great because the industry grew at 3.2 last year, right, or less. But after adjusting for the disruption of renovated hotels, RevPAR growth would have been approximately 3.4% or slightly higher. So, even with all this stuff, their RevPAR was, growing above that. And actually in the mid-scale and franchise economy segments, they had RevPAR growth of 5.7 and 7.2%.
And that's yeah. I want to hang on that for just a moment because given the inventory types that they have and the markets that they're in, you're talking about making hay at the peak of making hay. Okay, fourth quarter 16. It ain't going to get any better than that. After that, if that's the highlight of their life for the next 2 years.
Okay.
I'm not saying that was the best of years. I'm not saying it was the best of years, but in the world of positive markets, positive economy, positive things, it is this is the apex of the high net point. Everything else is going to be on a potential descent.
But you've got really high year-over-year benchmarks, right? I mean, the growth from the prior year is really tough. Those comps are getting squeezed because 2015 was so high, and that's something certainly I'm talking to a lot of the equity analysts I work with on. Is this is getting tougher for hotels because once you start seeing these things peaking out at 78% occupancy in peak summer weeks and things like that, you aren't going to be jumping up to 85% occupancy.
Right.
The industry can't handle that stuff, and you start, and all the growth is based on rate, things like that. I mean, there's certainly some things where it's going to peak, but they aren't necessarily doing, well, two things. One is they went through a lot of, and I have no dog in the fight on this at all.
I mean, I don't even know anyone at Red Lion.
Oh, well, no, I know some of their guys. And they're fine. And I thought it was a very, very bold move for them to do that. I mean, the industry went right, they cut left. But again, I think Linehan and those guys, I think they thought through it. It wasn't a rash decision. They were going, nobody knows Red Lion, right? I mean, at all. And so all of a sudden, they can introduce all these people. They had massive people coming in, and they've got this over 1,000 room, or 1,000 property portfolio. I think they were going, hey, we've got to do something.
Yeah.
What's it going to cost us? It's going to cost, and they probably, by going all in, probably negotiated a pretty good deal.
Well, it's not just that.
Expedia.
Someone told us, or maybe someone didn't tell us. Maybe I was talking to someone afterwards. I can't remember. But what they put in place, from a systems perspective, from a process perspective, all of that,
right?
Like they're rocking one of the most advanced CRM.
Well, and it's actually interesting because they just shifted their CRM from Serenata to Sendai. It looks like.
So Serenata was the one that they initially launched with, but it was a step in the right direction. Because when you look at those two CRMs, it's depending on what you're looking for. They're incredibly they do this right.
Yeah. And Red Lion went with basically the Hebs-led tech stack, right?
Yep.
So they're sitting there. I think they're on Oracle for property management. They've got Hebs for their digital marketing. They're using I think Duetto for revenue management.
Duetto for revenue,
There was Serenata for that, and I can't remember. Whatever other portion of that. So that was very interesting, and I kind of looked at it and go, okay, I can't fault them because I understand the strategy. Now, again, I don't know if it's going to work and be wildly great and be successful, but they had a strategy, and they executed it, and I don't know. We'll have to see, but I think it's really unfair.
Well, here's the thing.
They had a bad full year 2016, and blame it on this OTA deal. There's no evidence that I see that.
Oh no, that's the point of it. That's the point of it.
When you even look at their earnings for 2016, they didn't have a bad year. Now, if they didn't give guidance that, oh, by the way, in 2016 we're going to be in a strong amount of transition, then yes, they had a bad year.
Right.
But you can track back everything in those numbers to the immense amount of activities. And then even the things like you mentioned, Lauren, like the things that are hanging where they didn't brand the loyalty program, they may not be sure if Red Lion is going to be the brand.
Yeah, that may be an indicator of that. Yeah, you're right. Maybe an indicator of that. Well, I think that
the other thing, one last thing to add from their earnings announcement again, because you can get some insight. Contributing to the operational results was the continued success of the innovative customer recognition program, Hello Rewards. Revenue generated from rooms booked by the Hello Rewards program increased over 80% compared to 2015, with membership growth of roughly 50%. So
Wow.
those are good indicators.
They are.
And the other thing is, my understanding is their deal with Expedia is that they are getting full customer information at
Right.
the time of booking, so they can reach out and engage with these guys. And you got to put some sort of value on that. So my thinking, and again, I haven't had discussions with Lenny regarding exactly what the terms are, but I would be willing to bet I would think Expedia would be willing to give a discount and say, hey, instead of X%, we'll shave off a couple, 3 points, 2 points, I don't know.
Right.
But let's work together because if they can get a successful model, Expedia can turn around and go, hey, look at this. This works.
Right.
We are working together, and they're doing better than you. So this is possibly a very good thing.
Well, I think if you look at it,
it might be a good thing for Red Lion, and it could be a horrible thing for Hilton.
well, I think really, if you look at it, they wanted to make a move while cash flow is still good. As we always say, revenue covers a multitude of sins. You're peaking.
Yeah.
You're at a time where cash flow is doing well. So what's the best thing to do? Shed some of your higher cost related items into somebody else's pocket for a while. Create a higher liquidity. Move the monies into the places that are longer term investment strategies. Put yourself into a better tech spec and all the other stuff. Acquire what you're going to acquire while everybody's happy to think that you're making enough money to do it, knowing that the market's going to shift. And to your point, brand may not be brand the way they envision it, so they thought they'd sit back. Yeah, they're spinning the wheels a little extra because they really didn't finite it, but that's a cost to bear because later on they're going to define it. So,
Right.
they could be all of that, but to the point of the whole thing is to blame them.
Lauren, is I don't think 2016 was the year of the economy sector. And the reason I
No,
say
it's the
that-
last stuff.
the
It's
reason
the
I
last
say that, I don't think it is.
No.
And the reason I say that is, let's look at the economy sector right now. Let's look at the investment that's happening in the economy sector. Well, not just that, huge overhaul of the economy sector. Like, look at G6. And let's just look at this. So Blackstone buys G6, Motel 6, makes it G6, puts a massive investment into the tech stack, puts a massive investment into renovating the entirety of the collection. Okay? Then you look at Red Lion, who's a relatively small hotel group, picks up Vantage, which is a beast of a hotel group, because it's like the most independent branded hotel group you could have.
Yeah.
Why do you think money's being poured into this sector? Well, it's because all the indices are pointing to the fact that the economy is going to become challenging at some point in the near future. When economy becomes challenging, the people who have to travel still travel. They just don't travel as a market. Right? So I have a feeling like a lot of this movement is, okay, yes, there is top line revenue everywhere right now. I do not think it's the peak top line for economy. I think economy's top line.
No, I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you. No, I was saying economy in general, just in general, not them as a segment, but the economy is saying that.
When I look at a segment right now, the most interesting segment in travel, I think, is this economy sector, the rebirth of Motel 6. Now with Red Lion making this huge swing on Lexington. And then you even look at the moves Hilton made. Like, God help us. I mean, we've gone through the brands and everything, but Tapestry, have you seen that announcement?
Yeah.
So Tapestry is the down market curio. Right.
Yeah.
And then what's the other one? True. So they're developing a brand below Hampton Inn because Hampton Inn's ADR has crept up over the years to be way more than it was meant to be. Everyone seems to be paying a heck of a lot of attention to the select service, low cost, be a clean place models.
Right. Yeah. Well, and you got guys like Generator Hostels and stuff like that who are eyeing the market, who've certainly done some pretty interesting things that can, again, carve out of. And you've got the Airbnbs and all that sort of stuff. Next week, hopefully, I will have. There was a really good thing that actually Tambourine sponsored yesterday, which was STR. STR is now getting data from Airbnb for like 13 of their largest markets or something like that. Really interesting stuff, and it's carved out because it's coming from Airbnb, right?
Did you guys see the lodging article today on Airbnb?
No.
Talking about Airbnb moving away from home sharing.
Oh yeah, I saw the headline. Didn't see the article.
No, read the article. It's interesting.
Yeah.
The data is actually showing it's more commercial. Like more owners than it is like actual
Well,
the person you picture when you picture the sharing economy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not to drag us longer than this.
What STR's? Oh, sorry. What STR's doing though? Oh, yeah, because we're 10 minutes over here.
10 minutes over what? We actually have real stop times. Like
2 hours because Lauren has to split.
No. That's the old platform. The new platform goes on and on and on now.
Oh,
here's the sad thing. Actually, it's like the last 20 minutes of our shows are like the best, and we've lost our entire audience at this point.
Yeah.
Like, who do we have left? We have Holly left.
We got to answer Holly's question too because she asked nice enough to ask the question.
Does she have one?
Yeah. Google mobile search.
Lauren in. Who's Lauren in?
Oh, that's me. That's my co-cast. The year-over-year PC increase versus tablets down by 8%. I think we kind of hit it with the usage of the screen from back in our earlier conversation.
Well, here's the thing, though. Like, I think the thing is kind of the problem tablets have is they are the bigger screen, so they can support, richer content, but they're still so challenged on input.
Right. Well, that was the problem. That was the problem with the iPad, because Apple didn't want to have it devour, cannibalize its MacBooks, right? And so they kept the you couldn't hook up a keyboard to it, sort of.
Yeah, but even your Surface Pro.
Or a mouse.
Even your Surface Pro.
Right.
Yeah, but here's the thing: sit on your couch, and use a Surface Pro for something where you have to type something really long, and tell me that's better than a laptop.
No, what you need
you
need a lock for the keyboard, because the keyboard flips up to you.
Right. Well, what was the first thing I showed you with my iPad Pro?
Right. Oh no,
right,
no.
I picked it up by its keyboard. It was like, look.
No, the iPad Pro. Yeah, the iPad Pro. That's a good. Yeah, they finally came out.
Because it's a laptop.
Yeah.
Right. It is, and so Apple finally took that.
Yeah.
So all the ones where it's pure. Yeah. Again, where it's a pure tablet. Great for consumption. Horrible for creating.
I'm gonna make Ed feel good on something else because I am hopscotching to another thing. I want to finish the other thing about the limited service hotels. I agree with you that the economy hotels are going to have a new life because not just for the reason of a downturn of economies and that they're going to have a high value proposition because travelers will still need to travel. But I think in shifting to this personalization and experience driven economies that we keep talking about, that the large luxury resorts, and this isn't inclusive of everybody, but it is of some of them, they went through this evolution. It used to be back in the day, don't tell people that are staying at your hotel about anything outside of the hotel because we want them always to be in our restaurants, always to be in what we're doing. And then there was a backlash to that. Like, people were getting mad at the hotels because they were missing all this cool stuff outside of the hotels. So then the hotels said, well, let's share our destination information. Well, I think what's happening too is there are people, and I have clients that are like this, who've changed the marketing strategy because, hey, they just want to get to the destination. It's not about what the hotel has to offer. It's about where the hotel is that it's offering. And so these economy hotels are in these places now. They're in the quasi-destinations, the unknown destinations, the untouristy, these off-the-beaten-path ones, or maybe they're on the beaten path. But what you're providing them is comfortable, safe accommodations in the location you're most interested in. And it's not about eating at their restaurant. It's not that they even have a restaurant. It's the fact you have a hotel that's in the area that you want to be in. And I think there's a resurgence value there that you're seeing in the brand flavors that are coming up, in the investment that Blackstone's been making, in the way that small hotels now are advertising.
See how things are going and watch where Blackstone puts their money.
Yep.
Absolutely. They did.
Let's look at what they did. What did they do?
Hilton.
They got rid of Hilton. Like, they got rid of a ton. They freed up a ton of cash.
Well, no, they did the same thing with La Quinta, too. They did a good job with that, right? Because I think they've divested of La Quinta. Yeah.
I don't think to the level that they divested with Hilton.
Oh, okay.
I still think they're vast majority owner of La Quinta.
Oh, okay.
And then what do? They buy Motel 6. So they're not divesting from travel. They're shifting to be ahead of the change. And, when you look at what they're doing with G6, like, my gosh, like, I don't know if you've seen, like, what the remodeled Motel 6 looks like. They took the Target cheap chic and nailed it. Pet friendly. Right. They figured out how to keep meth labs from operating inside the hotels. And they did this all while keeping the price points.
Right. No. And it's been a very, very smart move because
39 and 59 are their price points.
And they're positioning this stuff for the next downturn.
Right.
Because all that stuff. What used to happen? You don't want to be in the middle. When all the 4-star guys start pricing at 2-star prices, 3-star is a bad place to be.
Yeah, but then again, they can't sustain their level of product either. That's the one thing that people don't remember is that luxury services, they can go to the basement, but they can't stay there because they can't support the infrastructure that their property represents. And that goes back to the Orlando example.
The property tax alone, because of the size of some of these mega resorts,
will eat them alive. Yeah, they just can't do that for very long. They can piss you off every once in a while. So that's where the economy hotels come into play because they're operating with a thinner cost level. They got more opportunity for upside by increasing a small percentage of ADR than the large properties have because it's just moving a bigger mountain. So definitely in that sense. Very cool.
But again, these guys can have well-designed rooms that have well-lit workspaces.
Go look at v6.com. I'm so impressed by them.
Oh no, that's what we did with
Do you guys remember Jeff Thomas?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Jeff Thomas is running like their e-commerce digital strategy.
Oh, okay. Oh, great.
And so he's the one. Like, I didn't know any of this was happening, and then I ran into him at the Expedia conference like 2 years ago. And he's like, "Yeah, I went to G6." I'm like, "The airline manufacturer, like G6?" He's like, "No."
Yeah, that's a really different G6.
Right.
Yeah. That's a very nice plane.
He took me through it. And he took me through their tech stack that they built and everything. Like, my gosh.
Wow.
And then now you look at Red Lion doing it with, whatchamacallit, Vantage.
Mm-hmm.
This is the place where money is going. And by the way, right now is a great time to be an economy hotel anyways, because, every property management system manufacturer has a web PMS that's only good for select service. So it's the most highly contested type of hotel for property management systems right now. So there's like, here you go, text cheap and really advanced.
But they're not connecting it to the channel distributions that they should. They're not connecting it to the methodologies as much. It's a good PMS system.
How's that different than PMS?
Well,
in any hotel?
Well, no, I was working, I won't say which one, with one of the cloud PMSs. It was a couple of years ago. And they built the whole thing out with absolutely no connection. And it's like, what the hell are you doing? And they're like, what? And I mean, these guys,
let's not forget,
I can't say much more.
If PMSs were built right from the get-go, there would be no CRSs. And if CRSs were built right from the get-go, there'd be no channel managers.
Yep.
Exactly.
And there'd be no booking engines, because all of that would be
one thing. Yep.
It would just be APIs that then layers are built on top of by marketing design firms.
Software as a service? I don't know. That's a radical idea.
Crazy talk.
I don't know. I mean, we'll have to wait and see how Salesforce goes with it.
I think exactly. But hey, those DOS-based PMSs that are still out there running some of these resorts. You can't
scary world. Hey guys, we're 2:45. Wow, we're doing 2.5 hours today almost. But
what are you talking about? It's only 1:47.
Yeah, we started 11:30, 12:30, 1:30, 12:45, 15, 17. I think I'm also on the wrong clock. All right. Golly, Mr. Ed, if people want to find you, where can they find you?
I'm everywhere they want to be.
I've been everywhere.
Which is timpeter.com.
timpeter.com/.
The website's only address.
That's right. The only website.
So you can find me at flip.to. You can find me on social media, Facebook, Twitter, or LinkedIn, Edward St. Ange. You can find me with my kids at Disney pretty much every weekend.
Yeah. Posting some pretty crazy cool pictures, I gotta say. I'm envious of your kids. They have too much fun.
As someone from the Northeast, having my kids grow up in Orlando is hilarious because first time I went to Magic Kingdom was with my daughter.
That's when it's really the Magic Kingdom. That's really when it's the Magic Kingdom. It is amazing.
My wife grew up in Satellite Beach, so like through high school, she's been to Disney 100 times. I don't know, just like every
We go during off season. We're at either Disney or Universal every weekend.
Yeah.
Off season.
Travel tip: never ever go to Disney or Epcot on New Year's Eve.
No, never go to Disney at all between Christmas and New Year's.
Yeah.
Right.
It's Christmas and January 3rd. It's
Right.
the busiest time of the year here. Disney actually closes their parks due to capacity.
Oh no,
around
except
9:30 or 10. Well,
Wow.
except for Epcot.
except
Because
Epcot, and we were at
By
Epcot.
buyer code, they can
Oh
just
my god!
jam
They
people into Epcot.
And it's an amazingly horrible sea of humanity. And
It's
the
And because all of them are disappointed.
Yeah.
Everyone in that park is mad.
Yeah.
Like,
the lines we got in. Yeah, we weren't staying on site, so we didn't have the hour before. There was when the gates opened, a 90-minute wait for, I think it was the race car thing
like
or
the
whatever.
one thing you would want to do at Epcot. Yeah.
Right, which then went up to 3.5 hours or something
Which, by the
like
way,
that. And
Nothing at a theme park is worth even a 90-minute wait. Like, I hate to break it to you, like, it's just not.
Well, yeah.
Mr. Robert, where can they find you?
The best one was the meet and greet with the Frozen princesses. That was the one that was
Well,
crazy.
still, actually, to be honest
That
with
was
you,
4 hours.
on a random Tuesday, the last week of January, which is like one of the slowest times of the year, that's still a 90-minute wait to
Wow.
meet Elsa and Anna. Yeah.
And,
Wow.
and there are how many? They have like probably 4 or 5 of them.
Yeah.
Because it's amazing how that place operates, where they channel off into
Mhm.
the numbers of bells and aerials and things like
Yeah.
that.
Oh yeah, and they never see each other. You never know it's not the same one. It's amazing.
Well,
Mr.
they see each other, but the guests never.
Yeah, the guests don't see. Yeah, Mr. Robert, how can people find you, sir?
Well, you can find me in either the Magic Kingdom or rockcheetah.com or at Robert K. Cole through most social channels.
Yeah, you're right. The last time was fun.
People find
Working with you.
In Florida now. No, hospitalitydigitalmarketing.com. Also, all of these shows, the archives are there as well, and you can find us
Yeah,
on
that page
Facebook.
isn't working, by the way.
What's what?
The page isn't working.
/live?
It just hangs.
Uh-oh. I'll have to go take a look. See, you leave it alone for a day, and next thing you know, it just messes it up. Although the website is a disaster in process of getting cleaned up. But /live, I'll take a look at it. But it is supposed to be there. It will be fixed shortly.
Site cannot be reached.
Damn! I'll have to go find out what's going on my website. Interesting. I'll go find out.
Actually, hoteldigitalmarketing.com completely is not able to be reached.
Ooh, this is scary. What did I do to my website? All right, well, in the meanwhile, you can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/hospitality digital marketing, Periscope under Lauren Gray, YouTube under Lauren Gray, and I'm going to have to go find out what's going on with my website.
What's your website?
What's my website?
Site tip, get Kingdom. It's free, and it will tell you when your site is down.
That's right.
Yeah, it's true. I should just put them on. I haven't really had problems with being down. This is kind of a unique and new thing for me, so I have to go find out what's going
Got so
on.
much content.
That's what it is. Too much stuff on, making it too fat and heavy.
Yep, it's like one of these retailers on Black Friday. It's the demand for the show, just traffic, just creators.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's the insanity of it. Yes.
Have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ed. Thank you, Mr. Robert. We will talk to you all soon. Take care.
Bye.
Very good. Bye.
And this.
And I won't be here next week actually.
Oh, that's a shame.
I'm going to be driving myself, where we are doing a little road trip with my younger daughter. We are